This episode is brought to you by Beane Tools. Every tool you'll hear in this episode that is created by Stephen Beane himself is hand touched by him and basically hand polished and created by Stephen himself. So if you want to get yourself some Beane Tools, go to beanetools.co.uk, or if you're in the United States, go to wellshod.com. Get yourself some Beane Tools.
Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Forging Brains podcast. I'm your host, Riley Kirkpatrick. Got my co-host, Gavin Cooper, here with me. And we got the six-time world champion, Stephen Beane, with us here today. Thanks, Stephen, for joining us, and you being our first guest in the UK, man.
Yeah. Well, thanks for having me. It's, I've been a big admirer of the podcasts. I listen to them, and especially Master Coonzaggy and Bodie and Craig, and I enjoy it. I like listening to it, so I was honored to be asked. So yeah, thanks for having me.
Oh, no, man. We appreciate you a bunch taking time out of your day to do it. You're a busy guy. You're always working hard, so it's hard. Like, those are the hard guys trying to get nailed down, but they're the good ones.
Yeah, you messaged me just a few minutes ago, or about an hour ago, like, are we still good for 9 o'clock? And I said, yeah. So did you end up going and shoeing one in that 30 minutes time?
Yeah, I just did front on it, yeah. But I don't travel very far, so I had one we kind of got a bit waylaid, so it needed doing, so yeah.
It's pretty quick.
I'm slightly crazy. I think I'm slightly crazy. I wear my heart on my sleeve, pretty straight talking. That's kind of how I am, really.
Oh, man. I think that's one thing I've noticed is, like, just talking to competitive people in general that are super competitive, is they are that way. Like, they are very, like, straightforward and kind of like some people would consider a little crazy. It's like they're just off the cuff and they're going to, like, make every, it's like you hang out with Jim Poor for like an hour and you're like, okay, like, this is like, this is how he gets so much done in a day, is because they're just like doing so much. So
yeah, I think it's just when you're with farriery, it's just what it is, isn't it? And then obviously I've got the tools, and that's busy at the moment. So it's so I try to do that one day a week, but and then shoe 4 days. But it kind of, when it gets busy, and you just start earlier and finish later.
Yep.
From the outside looking in. From the outside looking in, it would look like you compete a lot, like all the time. And somebody might think, like, does he even have a shoeing practice that you manage, or you just practicing all the time? Like, how do you kind of set that up and manage it all?
Yeah, that's a good question. It is, like, I do have a big practice. I have 2 apprentices. We travel about 30 minutes. I probably look after about 800 horses.
Wow.
On a Monday, I have a qualified guy on a Monday called Callum. He comes every Monday, and we go out in one van. And on a Monday, we try to shoe between 25 and 32 sets on a Monday. And then we get cracking. Most days, with the 2 apprentices, try to do like 15 and then have a day on the tools. And the apprentices help me with the tools. And we still make some. I made a pair of bar shoes yesterday for a horse, and we still make the bits, but not like I used to. It's kind of, if I'm honest, I've got busier, and life sometimes does that to you. And I think when COVID come along, kind of made us all sit back, but now I'm back in the rat race, and I'm working and a bit crazy, but yeah. And it seems since Spruce, it's just been a whirlwind. Like, to think it's Christmas next week, it's just been
It's gone by so fast.
But I think the main thing is to do it. It has to be organised, and we go out and we generally start at 7. And we go out and we're back. We can get back at 6:30 on a Monday, start 7:30, get back at 6:30 and do 30. If it's organised, if you turn up, the horses are ready, and we have a system. I tend to fit and trim, because if I trim it, I can fit it quicker. And the boys will nail, clench, pull off, prep, and we kind of motor around pretty fast, really.
Oh, and you said that you don't really travel that much. So does that mean there's 800 horses within, like, just a little drive?
Yeah, about half an hour where I live. Yeah.
That's unreal. That's so handy.
That's insane. That, like, there might be 800 horses within that range of me, but not 800 horses that are owned by good owners.
Yeah, that's true. There's like, because I've shod around here, I qualified in 2001, so I've kind of had my own business 24 years. I kind of like, some people I've shod for 24 years. Some I've whittled out, but most of them have been here a long time, and they've known me, and they know that I have, I'm a bit of a perfectionist. I like to do a good job. I have high standards, and I'm lucky. There's the ups and the downs of it. We all have horses that aren't as good to do, but when you have two apprentices, if it's a little bit awkward, it doesn't seem that awkward. When you go by yourself, you're like, oh my God, how do I do this?
It's a bit of a drag sometimes.
Two or three of you, yeah, it doesn't seem that bad. And I think that's the key. For me, horseshoeing is a two-person job. I love shoeing with apprentices, or I love shoeing with helpers. By myself, I'm not such a nice guy. But yeah, it's just how it is. But yeah, I'm kind of quite easygoing. I think I kind of take the rough and the smooth. I can get round a horse pretty quickly. So if I figure out, okay, this one's going to get done cold and we're going to do this one in the stall, I'm going to do it. Anything for Richard Ellis said to me that you can shoe a horse well, but you can't shoe a horse well if it won't stand. So we have the odd ones sedated. We don't. I was kind of thinking today that, yeah, you're going to ask me about stuff, and like I don't have any in glue-ons, I don't have any in hoof filler. I'm quite, I think there's somewhere you can always nail. If it loses a shoe, there's always a nub of heel each side you can get a nail in. So I'm a traditional
horseshoeing
guy. Yeah, fit it, nail it, bolt it on, and yeah, we do pads and stuff like that, but I hate to say it for Craig Trinker's sake, there's more horses in side clips than I'd like to admit. But
it's inevitable, it seems like.
That's just how it is in a wet environment, but yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, because you can still fit one well with side clips, right? Like,
yeah, you can, exactly, yeah, because the clips, for me, a clips is holding the foot together. So where you put the clips is what you want to do. You're trying to control distortion. So yeah, that's they've still got to fit.
Yeah.
Yep.
And that's what I try to pride myself on. And sometimes I've had to give myself a bit of a kick and sort myself out and tell myself, no, that's not. And generally when you have people with you, I think it keeps you fitting better, because I'm not going to give a shoe to Callum on a Monday that doesn't fit. Like, I'm going to give him what I think's a 9, or, because I don't want him to say, what the hell, like,
Yeah.
He's losing it.
You don't want to come back like, hey, did you mean to do this? Like, did you want this left here? Like, so let's go back like a chunk, man. What was like, did you grow up around horses as a kid or anything?
Yeah, I grew up around horses. My mum was horse mad, so she introduced me at like 4. I have an older brother. We went riding lessons, and then when we were 11, my mum and dad had a little bit more money and they could afford, we would get a pony and we'd share it. So we got a pony, and then the story came that my brother was a year older, so when I was 13, he was 14, he was looking to leave school, and the lady at the riding school where I used to work, she's like, there's a talk on next week. It's a riding club talk by a farrier called Hugh Dyer, and I think you should take Andrew, because I think it'd be a good career. So I said to my dad, can I go? So my dad's like, yeah. So we went to this talk, and it was in this top of this pub around the corner from where I live, and still now. And I came out of the talk and I was like, I'm going to be a farrier. And my brother come out of the talk and he's like, no, I'm not going to be a farrier.
F that.
So I can't remember a lot about it, but I just remember that was it. So from 13, I was lucky. I knew I wanted to be a farrier. I met Hugh Dyer, so then I started going there in the school holidays, and I was pestering Hugh. And when I was 16, I thought, Hugh's going to give me a job, because I've been here like all the time. Yeah. When I'm 16, Hugh Dyer goes, Stephen needs to grow up. He needs to go to college and a year and grow up a bit. And I was like, yeah, he's probably right. He'd stay the same now. I need to grow up. That's probably the matter of fact. But yeah, and then I was lucky. I went to college for a year and went out with my local farrier a fair bit. And I got a job with Hugh. And it was brilliant with Hugh, because he's a good everyday shoer. he's quite a hard taskmaster, but he's also fair. And he said to me, there's a competition it's in 10 weeks' time. And I was like, a competition? Like, what do you mean a competition? He's like, well, you have to make shoes. And I was like, all right. He's like, I've entered you. And I was like, all right, what do you have to do? He's like, it's a fully fullered front and it's a roadster hind. He said, but don't worry, I'm going to like help you with it. And I went and we split the fuller in like on both shoes, like through. And a guy that ended up being one of my old mentors, he had all the old competition books. And in them days, they used to write the scores because you're talking like 97 or 96. And in the scores, I remember looking at it and I didn't get a score of a 10 for both shoes combined. And boy. I split the fuller in on both shoes, and Hugh said to me afterwards, he's like, that's because that's that new fuller. That new fuller's way too sharp, kid. You should have used the old one. And I was like, and that's funny because like I talk now and I do an impression of Hugh, and Hugh's probably going to listen to this and think he does an impression of it. It's just weird. But, and I was, as soon as I finished, I was like, when's the next one? And Hugh's like, oh yeah, well, there's 5 in Yorkshire. So the next one's in a couple of months. And that was it. I was
hooked. That's cool.
Yeah.
And so, like, you had probably obviously already done some forging before that competition, though, right?
Yeah.
Like just for the college.
Yeah. So the year I did at college was basically, they used to call it a pre-farrier course, and for that year you did, you know, the apprenticeship is evolving all the time, but now they've taken out. We called it a forging exam, which you had to make like a figure of a offset latch. You had to forge sections, you had to forge points, you had to make a pair of tongs, and you had to take these to an exam and get assessed.
Okay, yep.
So in that year, I was making scrolls, and I started. They didn't really teach you any shoemaking because they wanted you to save that, but I certainly knew how to use a hammer, and I knew how to use a forge, and yeah.
Oh, that's awesome! It's such a. You guys are so lucky, I feel like, in that fact that like your guys' forging has started so early, like, and that you guys have so many competitions like that. Like, how many competitions did you get to go to then when you were a kid? Like, was it every other month like that then, just consistently?
Yeah, because when I started with Hugh, I was quite young for my age. So when I started with Hugh, I couldn't drive. So Hugh was like, oh, this Saturday I've entered you for a competition called Close Burn. And I was like, oh, Close Burn? He's like, yeah, it's in Scotland. I was like, all right, what do I have to do? He's like, you have to make a pair of plain stamp shoes. You're in the junior class. And so I was like, oh, cool. Hugh's like, I'm going to take you. And he took me. He entered me. He paid for my hotel. And he said, we're going to stop the night. And he said, then on the Sunday, we're going to go to Kirby Longsdale. And you're going to make a pair of fullered shoes. And I was like, all right. So... And this is when I was a second year. In the first year, I did about 6 or 7 shows in my first year. Then I really started to get into it. It took me till my second year before I won a competition. I was pretty I was pretty going to make up the numbers. And then I started to realize and watch people and figure out there was a local guy that, and I think that's really important, is I've always tried to get like a mentor, and there was a local guy called Glenn Brook, and Glenn was Yorkshire champion. He was winning everything. So I was like, I think I need to hang around this guy. So like I went and spoke to him, and I'd be 17. I was like, oh, could I come down and see him? And he's like, yeah, you want to come on like a Wednesday night or Tuesday, Wednesday night? You can come and make some shoes. And I said to Hugh, is it all right? And Hugh was like, yeah, fine. And so I started hanging out with that guy, and that he really excelled me. And then obviously then Hugh, when I started getting quite good, then Hugh started to take me to Scotland. And yeah, so I actually went to the last ever Edward Martin's competition, but I was only 17, so Hugh took me up there.
Really early
yeah,
on.
And they always remember me as Hugh said to me, the prize giving, he said, it's in the village hall, but you have to dress smart. He said, you need a suit. So I went, and my mum got me a suit. I got a 3-piece suit, and I remember turning up there, and there was this Geordie guy who turns out to be Graham Moran. And he's like, hey, are you a snooker player? And he was like taking the mickey out of me. And it's funny because all these years later, I remember who it was like.
it is always something like, even now, like where you guys see your guys's like your banquets and everything
Yeah.
overseas, and you guys are all dressed so nice, you know. Then you go to a banquet here, and like some guys don't even change their shirt after the last
Yeah. Yeah.
after the live shoe into the banquet. Man, it's like a whole different culture that you guys got over there that's actually clean cut.
But we are very fortunate in the UK that you can, if when I was like, now I try to pick my contests I want to do, because I just
Yeah.
think that time wise I can't prepare enough for them as I want to. But back in the day, I used to go shoe and go to a contest, come back, shoe for 4 or 5 days, go to another contest, and you could go to a contest every week. That's the truth, and you might only have to drive a couple of hours, and you know.
That's almost kind of
So
like
we're very
the
fortunate.
rodeo circuit we have here in the United States, where you could probably go to a rodeo every weekend, but not necessarily a horseshoeing competition for us.
Yeah, and I think that, to be a good competitor, you also get ring rusty. It doesn't matter who you are, like you get ring rusty. You need to get out there and compete, and we're fortunate that I can pick a contest and go right. This year I was like, okay, I want my aim this year was obviously spruce. That's been the aim for about
Yeah.
11 years, but definitely for the last 3, that was the aim. And I kind of thought, right, I need to go somewhere. And you need confidence to go and compete. When you go to spruce, you need confidence that you feel good, but you also need a realistic of where you are. So I picked the warm-up event in Canada. That was a good one to go to and compete against Troy and Stan. And I
Yeah.
got my ass kicked by Stan, so that was good, because then you come back and you kind of sort yourself out a bit. And then I went to Yorkshire Shore, and Yorkshire Shore was good because Matt Randalls was competing there, and I kind of thought that, everyone's going to think that Matt's a contender. So
Oh yeah.
he was good to see where I was at against, and I won the championship. So I kind of thought, yeah, but then I was like, don't get complacent, because that's one of my biggest things. I get complacent, tell yourself, yeah, I'm all right, I'm doing good, and then you're not doing good.
Yeah. It's almost like you feel like you got it under control, but then you just have to keep reminding yourself to keep pushing. Like, I'm not there. There's still other guys that can beat me, right?
Yeah, and I think that is the thing. Like, if I'm honest, like, not from like, because I'm quite a level-headed, down-to-earth person. Like, I've always felt in my career that I had to prove myself, but now it's even hard to prove yourself because the pack got even closer. Like, when I used to win the world championship, like a long time ago, the pack was spread out. You went there thinking, okay, there's a couple of people that are contenders here, but now there's so many contenders, and everyone is, especially with the forging side of it, which I would class myself as a good shoer, and I think I can make shoes good for feet, but I'd say I'm an average shoemaker. And Andrew Cashley said to me, "You're not an average shoemaker, you're a good shoemaker." I was like, "No, I'm more average because there's just better shoemakers."
Yeah.
Like, there's so many good shoemakers now, and that's the truth of it. Like,
It's easier to, yeah.
Yeah. It's something. The shoemaking is something that's, I don't want to say easier to practice, but it can be such a consistent
yeah,
that the
and
bar stock is always going to react this way, where the shoeing is like, man, it's always so different. Every foot is so freaking different. Like, I think that the only way you can attack is like be shoeing 800 horses.
yeah, I think that's the good bit, and the bad bit is when you go out on a Monday and you shoe 25 sets, like, you've just fit 100 shoes. So
a lot.
and if you make sure they fit and all your clips are laid on right, and make sure you're consistent, then you don't get bad habits and you get quick. And that's probably this year, if I'm honest with you, the shoeing kind of saved me. And it's funny because I remember, like, the first times I went to the World Championship, I went in like 2001, and that's when I qualified. And like, I was a good apprentice. I'd been national champion and I was winning some shows. So everyone thought, oh, this guy's going to be great. But like, I practiced for like 3 weeks. I remember getting to Mark Milster's for 3 weeks before, and that's the year Mark Milster won. And I was with Mark for 3 weeks before, and like some of the shoes I hadn't even made. But like
Oh wow.
now you're like practicing for 3 months, 4 months.
Yeah.
Like so much has changed, like because everyone's so the standards have got like I don't mind admitting it, the standards have got higher. Like when I won my first world title in 2009, like I had like one sanding block that I bought at the hardware store, and like I used that for like 3 classes. Like,
No way.
yeah, I had like a worn out bench rasp, and I used. But now you like every class you want, right? I've got sharp
Up
gear,
to
got a new
8,000
foot
grit.
trimmer. This it sounds bad. Like when I like I don't want to feel like I'm that old because it's weird. Because like say at Spruce this year, I look and I'm like, yeah, I see myself as one of everyone else. But like you look at Troy and you're like, I'm 22 years older than Troy, 24 years older than Troy, and I'm 22 years older than Stan or something. And you're like, but I feel like I'm one of them. If you know what I mean.
Yeah. Oh,
But
yeah.
Good place
when
to
I
be.
look back, at the standards,
I never think of you as being old. Like if that helps, I'm never like, oh, here's the old guy coming in. You know what I mean? It's like they're like, man, Steven's probably more fit than I am right now. I should probably be stepping it up.
Yeah, and I think that's a good point. Actually, is that I always try to like look, and I think you want to be the best version of yourself, and I think you have to be very consistent. Like you have to be very self-critical of yourself. So, you know, Austin Edens, they used to call me Fat Beanie because I did used to be a little bit out of shape,
Really?
and it's funny because in my career I've been told I'm too fat, I've been told I'm too thin, I've been told I'm past it, I've been told it's someone else's time, it's another generation's go, and it's weird because all of them things, whether we like it or not, they actually get into your mind.
Yeah, feel your fire.
You actually, and for me now, as it's easy for me to talk about it now, but I think horseshoeing, the ability for me to show a horse has never gone, but definitely mentally, it got in my mind that I thought maybe I am old, maybe I am past it, maybe it is another generation. And it's been if I'm honest with you, it's been a really hard 3 years because I went the first year and I kind of went and I wasn't ready, but you tell yourself you are ready.
Mm-hmm.
And then you go, and if I'm honest, Matt Randalls was the out-and-out champion, and he deserved it, and you couldn't question that. And then I was like, oh yeah, okay. So you come home and you try to get ready, and the last year I went, and I thought I was kind of ready, but then you get there and you're like, I was chasing. I was the chaser, and when you're chasing, it's hard because you're the chaser. So this year I was like, right, scrap everything you've done in the past. Because I was preparing for this like I used to prepare when I won it in 2014. That's 11 years ago. Mm-hmm. So I was like, you need to alter system, you need to alter stuff. And this year I did alter stuff. I decided that I needed to be... The fitness thing started a couple of years ago, and I looked at Matt Randalls and I was like, I think I can beat Matt, but I can't beat him on a vice or, you know. So I was like, okay, I need to take that game. So then I started to get fit. So I got a fitness coach, and I lost 2 stone over the last 3 years. I've probably
How much is a stone?
That is a good question. Don't know.
Maybe like 10 pounds. I don't know.
So I got a fitness coach, and then this year I decided that, you know what, like isolation is what... Huh?
It's 14 pounds.
Wow.
Yeah. So I lost like 14 pounds, and I feel better for it. I'm a lot fitter, and I'm in good shape. And then this year I decided that, like, Craig Trinker says, isolation is the biggest problem, and he's right. Like, but when you kind of get good, you kind of get less friends or less people to hang out with, because your friends kind of become your competitors. Mm-hmm. So then it's kind of like, that's why a team's great, because you're on a team and you learn from each other. But so like this year I was quite smart. I decided that Masters Cup is a pairs competition. So I paired it with Matt Randalls.
Okay.
That was a smart move, because you look at Matt's trimming, you look at his fit, and I kind of looked at it and I was like, okay. I looked at his tools when he when he was working. I looked at his Pritchells, I looked at his stamps, I looked at everything, and I was like, and I definitely got stuff from him. And then I also decided this year that I needed some mentors, because maybe I wasn't being hard enough on myself. Maybe I was saying to myself, yeah, that's all right. But now to win, you have to be better than all right. So I got Lewis Balfour in, spoke to Lewis. Lewis wasn't going, and Lewis was, he's been off work, and he said he would love to help. And so he was looking at videos, and he's not sharing them with anyone. So he'd say, like, do this, do that. And then I got Nigel Fennell involved, which Nigel's a great guy, because, like, Lewis is the hard guy. He tells you, like, that's not good enough. Nigel's like, you are the best. You're going to win everything. He's the ultimate motivator. And then I have my mate Kiwi, Andrew Nichols. He's like, don't do too much. Have a weekend off. Spend time with Kat. And I think that was the key. And then I also figured out that I had to get the team. So I decided that I'd have Callum every Monday. I set him up. He's been with me for about a year and a half. So then we could get the big numbers done on a Monday. So that eases the week. I had the apprentices, and then I planned it so that, because I tend to practice on a night. So if I get back at 5:30, that's when I practice. And then Matt Argo, I paired up with Matt Argo. He's 20 minutes away. So that's perfect.
Oh, nice.
Matt's like, I'm going to come every Thursday night. We're going to do egg bar night. And I'm going to come every Saturday, and we're going to shoe a horse for like 5 weeks before. So it was, it kind of worked out good. And then obviously I had Kat, and, like they say, like, behind every good man is an even better woman. And you can't really deny that, because Kat was like, it's hard for Kat because you work long hours and then you want to go in the forge. So I make myself feel guilty. I'm like, I shouldn't be in the forge. I should be in the house. And Kat's like, but Kat never made me feel guilty. Kat's like, I said, I'm going to put Matt off because we've had a busy week. And she's like, no, you can't put Matt off. Like, Matt's coming.
Yeah.
You're doing it. And she'd have tea ready. And so, yeah, it was, it's unbelievable. And, definitely to go to Vancouver. And because I didn't really, obviously I see social media brings us all together. I see you practicing with Troy, and that kind of motivates you. And you're like, okay, we got to get after this a bit, Matt. And then to go to Vancouver and see Troy and see Stan, and, them two guys are good. Like, there's
another great sponsor of the Forge of Brains podcast is America's Farrier Supply, Well Shod. They are always known for the $10 flat rate shipping, and you can't get much better deal than that, hands down, because everything that we use and pretty much is pretty heavy, and a lot of times when you place an order from somewhere else, shipping is going to be very expensive. Well Shod outdoes everybody else in the market because of that $10 flat rate shipping. They are the biggest farrier supply that we know and have in the U.S. They make their own anvils in-house. They have the Cliff Carroll anvils. They have the Scott anvils, and then they also have the Austin Eden Scott anvils for the 200-pounder, and then down to like 70-pound anvils as well. They also have every other tool that you could possibly ever dream of on their website or in stock, always at a fingertip away to order and buy. Every single horseshoe that you could ever possibly need is on their website as well. So you can go to their website, wellshod.com, use code BRAINS, and show your support of Forge and Brains podcast and Wellshod. So go check them out. We thank Wellshod for supporting the show and helping us provide content to all you guys and sharing the insight that everybody has to offer, throughout the years of trials and tribulations of being a farrier. Hopefully that it can pass on information to new people or people that have been in this their whole life and just share those details with everybody. So thank you, Wellshod. Go show your support. Shop on their website and use that code BRAINS. Help show your support. Thank you.
There's no denying it. They're future world champions without a doubt. Someone said, Dave Duckett said to me when I was 25, you're going to be a world champion. I was like, yeah, I don't know about that. But, it's... Yeah,
made it happen.
It's easy to see, They're so hungry for it.
Yeah, something I thought was pretty cool, and I've never really heard of somebody doing this before, but you with Matt Argo, like you gave him 10% of your winnings, right? Like how did you guys kind of come up with that game plan?
it was kind of funny because the year before when George won and I was second, I was meant to go with Liam Collins, and Liam Collins decided he wasn't going. And I kind of felt that I was in a place that I think that if you're after something, you've got to keep after it. So I was like, I can't really miss a year because I was third. I know I was what I had to work on. I know I needed to be more ready. I knew I had the table of doom, I call it. So I was like, okay, I need to get back after it. So I said to Matt, because Matt originally was going to strike for me, and I was like, oh, I can't, Matt. I've paired up with someone, like, and he's like, oh, that's fine. So he paired up with Toby. So I was like, would you strike for me, Matt? And Matt's like, yeah, I'll strike for you. But do I get a percentage? And I was like, you know what? Like, yeah. I said, if I win, you get 10%. And he goes, really? And I was like, yeah. And he's like, all right, cool. So then this year we went, and it was kind of like, it was disappointing, of course, but like I have a saying that sometimes you have to lose a championship to win another. And I think that is really important, is sometimes you do have to lose it, because when you're hungry for it, when you're Troy Wood, Stan, and when I was a young Stephen Beane, when you want something, you're after it and you go for it. When you've had something, you kind of take it for granted and you probably don't put as much into it. So this year I said to Matt, I was like, are we doing it again? And Matt's like, oh yeah. He's like, do I still get 10%? I was like, yeah, of course you do. And so that was the deal. And you know what? It didn't bother me giving him 10% because Matt, could I have won it without Matt? I go, no. And
because I was watching you in the plane stamp go, and I think you won that class that day, right? And I was watching Matt strike, and I was like, Matt's like 2 steps ahead every time. I was just watching him, like, when you're taking a heat at the anvil, he's over there getting, like, because he knows you're about to go nail up and clinch, he's getting everything in order. I was like, he's on his game right now. And I was like, man, you were doing really good. He's like, yeah, I get 10% if he wins. I was like, that's pretty damn cool. I was like, that's a good
and
striker.
He did, and I think you need that. We had that bond, and I said to him, look, Matt, like, you know, I'm gonna figure stuff out. I'm gonna share everything with you. You're gonna see it, but like, if I want to have the edge, we have to keep stuff a bit in house and keep it between us, and we're gonna practice hard. And he was like, yeah, that's fine. And he came to mine, and he kind of said to me that we have a pretty good forge here, me and Kat, and it's well set up. So Matt's like, I'll come to yours, and on a Saturday I'll get the horse if you have the forge set up. So we used to practice. We do a go at the. We tend to start with the plain stamp because I felt the hunter was harder. So I wanted to be a bit more warmed up for that. So we started, and it's funny because when you start, you kind of tell yourself, oh, it's tight for time. No one's going to sandbox this. No one's going to rasp it. No one's going to get after it. Yep. And then you're like, no. Like, I went to Vancouver and I was like, Stan and Troy are.
Yeah.
Like, so I'm to Matt, I'm like, right, we need to get on it. And I think you have to be in sync and you have to know what each other's doing. And that makes the big difference. Whereas the year before, we weren't in sync, and I'd be like getting after him, like, come on, that needs to be a bit hotter. And, you know, and Matt, and this year, I think this year I went and I kind of felt I was ready. And when I finished the final, my wife said to me, like, what do you think? And I said, be honest with you, like, if it's not good enough, then I'm not good enough anymore, because I thought it was a good job, and I thought that it was as good as I could put down. And that's all you want to do, is you want to go there and represent and put something down on the floor that everyone goes and looks at, and you're like, yeah, I'm happy for people to look at that. But Matt was brilliant, like, and he did make the difference. Before I was in fourth. I kind of had a game plan at Spruce. I wanted to go there and I wanted to lay it down. That was my plan. So I knew that the Tulvan Fullard and the deep-seated bar shoe was a good class, and I wanted to lay it down from the start. And I seemed to do all right, and I got out in front. And I think when you're out in front, then the pressure gets on the chasers. But then it's weird because I was in the front for 2 days, and then I went to third. And then on the shoemaking day, I wasn't confident with the shoemaking day because I knew that was my weakest day. Mm-hmm. And I did. I dropped down. I didn't make very good shoes, and I put myself in the middle of the table. And when you put yourself in the middle of the table, you could go anywhere. That's the truth of it. And I also did what I told my wife I wouldn't do, is I started standing by the table watching, and you're like, don't move my shoe, don't move my shoe. Whereas the 2 days before, I was confident, didn't go near the table. And people's like, oh, you've won the egg bars, your bar shoes fourth. I was like, oh yeah, that's all right, yeah. But then when you don't make great shoes, you hang around the table and it's just mental torture.
It is.
But then I knew that my experience was, and I'd practiced hard for the semi-final and final. I'd practiced that hard. I'd had 4 horses in, and I was making the shoes 18 minutes. I was well practiced up, and I knew that if I could go in touching distance, I knew I could kind of be there or thereabouts. And it was funny because I pulled back to 3rd before the final, and I said to Matt, I was like, that's game over. And Matt's like, I've been looked at the points. Like, if you win, it's not game over. You can win. So when Matt said that to me, I was like, if I win, I can win. And he's like, yeah. So then I was right up for it. And I was fit. So probably I could have done another round. People say, oh, it's 2 rounds back to back. But I practiced as if I was going to do 3 rounds.
Is that what you would do? You do 4 goes in a day then? Well, for your top 10
I'd get a horse in. I'd have a go. Have half an hour, 40 minutes, and then I'd have another go. But I knew that, for me, if you're going to, sounds weird, but fitness-wise, if you're going to do an hour class, you need to really get on a cross trainer and do an hour and 20 minutes non-stop on a cross trainer. Because if you can do an hour on a cross trainer, you're going to be able to make shoes. That's the truth of it. So I kind of figured out that, I had to address that. But it's pretty, it's been a good year, that's for sure.
I don't think that people realize how much that sucks them down, of being out of shape, of you start getting tired, your body starts making so many excuses for you in your head. Like that inner bitch starts talking pretty loud of like, that's good enough. You don't need to do another there. Go ahead. No, just go ahead and don't take that pass.
Yeah.
Where if you got in your back pocket, you're like, I've done this more. I've done more than this before. This is a jog in the park. Man, your confidence is high. So something you've talked so much about your mental game at this championship.
Yeah.
Was the mental game and the preparation as big for you the first time you won the world?
When I look back, I think, I think everyone has a journey, and I think that's really important. Everyone has a journey. So my journey is 2001. I wasn't ready. I met my partner there called Chip Farris. I'd never ever not finished a class in my life, and we went in this 2-man class, and we didn't finish. And I was like, what? I've never not finished.
Yeah.
And it kind of made me realize that, okay, I'm not ready for this. So then I took a step back. I did the English circuit. I paired up with a guy called Gary Darlow. I was his striker, and he struck for me. And, just being with him, I learned so much. And I got on the English team in 2002. So Darren Bazin was 3 times world champion on there. So I started to pair up with Baz at the international and Spud. And when you get on a team, it's unbelievable because they sort you out. And then I kind of 2005, I went to the Worlds with the idea I wanted to make top 10 because I think everyone has a goal. And in 2005, I ended up reserve to Jim Blurton, and I'd never practiced. I'd never practiced the semi-final or final. I just practiced to get there, and I got in there, and I was in the first round, I had 4 minutes to clench both front feet. But obviously I do a lot of shooting, so it was no big deal. I got it done. And then I did a good job in the hinds, but I kind of left it too late. And then I went back in 2006, straight back. And mentally, I was ready for it in 2006. And Billy tipped me to the post, and Billy Crovers was world champion. And 2006, it was hard. I never thought I would come second at the Worlds and be emotionally and upset. But Darren Bazin was my coach, and I rung Darren up, and I'm like, I've let you down. He's like, you haven't let me down. It's just how it is. And I remember Craig Trinker actually said to me, he's like, you've been forging champion for 2 years. You need to your shoeing needs to be better. And I was like, yeah, Craig's right, actually, because I kind of looked at it and he's like, he's right. I was in the lead and then I wasn't. So 2007, I went back. I was third. Bill Paul won that year. I think as a competitor when I was younger, I was pretty fiery. I wasn't the best loser. I was a pretty bad loser. And I think during the journey of my career, I've learned that, especially in the last 3 years, I've learned that it's someone else's day. You have to be a good loser. And when it's someone else's day, they don't want someone kicking off because it's not their day. Because I've had my day. So in 2007, I remember Hans Mustad come up to me and said, well done. And I said, no, I'm not well done. I'm never, ever coming back to this place ever again.
Oh, wow.
I am never
about ready to
coming
sell your tools.
Yeah, I was like, I ain't coming back to Calgary Stampede ever. So 2008, I didn't go back because I wasn't going back ever again. And then the year later, 2009, I was like, okay, I've been on the English circuit again. I want this. And Jim Blurton said to me, the one that wants it the most will get it. And that year I did a lot of practice, preparation. I went and I got it. And then the next 4 years was weird because I went back and it seemed like it was kind of easy because once you know how to win a contest or because that's what it's about. It's basically about scoring the most points or not losing points. Once you know how to win something, it becomes easier. So for 4 years, they changed the format a bit, but I kept going. And then on my 5th year was 2013 I lost my mentor, Glenn Brook, the guy I went to since 17. He died of cancer. And that was really hard because he passed away like 3 weeks before. And he was obviously a big inspiration to me. And I'd been practicing, but for that week before he passed away, I went to see him every night and I spent a lot of time with him. And it's really, really hard because you tell yourself that, oh yeah, Glenn wants me to go. I'm going to go. So I went, and it's weird because I went into the final in the lead. And in the final, I made my hind shoes. I had the shoes made. And as I was making them, I thought to myself, that is a nice looking shoe. And that's what Glenn would say. He'd be like, that's a nice looking shoe. I'd be like, that's a nice looking shoe. And I thought to myself, Glenn would like that shoe. And then I went to the horse and it was like short. And I was like, yeah. And that year they zeroed the points before the top 5. So I kind of knew that it was over. And I was third. And then obviously I come back and mentally I wasn't in the right place.
Yeah.
And I went back the following year and I won, and that was obviously great. And then we had this, what Craig Trinker calls a holding period, which I think is really hard because you've got 9 years where there's not a world championship, but you're the world champion and you still go and compete places. I went and I won Europeans and nationals, but obviously I wanted the world championship because I didn't want to be sat there like forever. I wanted to like if I'm honest with you, and I said this to Craig and Christine, like the industry needs a world championship because we need it, because it's good for the industry, it's good for the next generation. And sadly, there's some people that have missed out, and I've been lucky that I didn't, but there's a generation of people missed out in that 9 years. They made me miss their time. But mentally, definitely, I remember in 2022, my mum passed away. My mum was we say mum in England, but mother is the proper English term. But my mum was a massive part to me. She always saw the best in me, even when I was younger and I was naughty and got expelled. And I was like, yeah, you're all right, Stephen, you're fine. Just keep doing this, keep doing that. And she was always there for me. So when she passed away, that was like a month before the Europeans, and I decided I was going, and that was like, I ended up second to Matt Randall's, and that was probably when I was probably at one of my lowest as a competitor and a person. I was a pretty bad loser at that, like, and that was in 2002. And then I kind of come home, and a lot changed in my life, and things happen for the best, and I got divorced, and that was good because sometimes your surrounding can also have that effect on you. And then I was if I'm honest, in 2003 I met Kat, and and Kat was like my savior. She was the light at the end of the tunnel, and she kind of got me back on it, and then the rest is kind of there. But when I was third and when I was second, like, I remember like someone told me on my stag do, like, look, like, you've been good, but it's just not your time anymore. And I was like, what? That is hard to take. And this year I wanted to kind of go back, and I wanted to prove to myself that I could do it. And I wanted to prove against the next generation that I could still do it. And that's what's kind of hard to do, is I think you have to keep pushing and do it again. I was, got lucky, and you need a bit of luck, and that's how it goes.
Yeah, a little bit of luck, but I don't think it was too much luck. I think there's luck of, like, my parachute opened, or like I didn't get hit by another truck driving down the road. That those are luck things, but it's like you kind of made each one of these steps happen. But one thing that's like, because you're a guy that has been, like, we started from the beginning of this talk, like, you're a very self-critiquing person. You're very hard on yourself, and it's like how. But I feel like you've like mastered it. That, not, you know what I mean? None of us will ever master it, but it's like you figured it out more now. Of like, what are some tips do you have, or like what was some time in your life where it's like you figured out how to not, like, I'm just like, almost hate yourself sometimes. Like, I'm sure most of us that are like competitive, like, I'm not on your level competitor, but I'm a self-critiquing person as well. And there's those days where you're like, man, you can be pretty hard on yourself. You know what I mean? And like, then you're kind of a confidence whipped dog, and that's not very great either. You know what I mean? So it's like, how did you learn how to be hard on yourself, but still like yourself,
Yeah, I think is really important, because confidence in this job, competing or every day, is the key. Like, the customers, like my apprentices, that turn up and talk, and they're confident, they know what they're doing. So confidence is a big thing. Obviously, some people have too much confidence, some people don't have enough, and it is hard when you're hard on yourself. But what I tend to do now is, I think that taking pictures, taking videos, getting someone else to look at it, someone that you respect, someone that you know is going to tell you the good, the bad, and the ugly. Someone like Lewis, that he's going to say to you, look at this, look at that. I think you need to do this. I think you need to do that. And I think that is the biggest thing, is you have to surround yourself by people that they're better than you. I think without a doubt. Mm-hmm. From the confidence thing is, you need to go places. You need to go places where you can build confidence. So you go to a show where you can, before a contest, you can get ready. But I think confidence comes from being prepared. I think when you have a stack of shoes in the forge, and you put the worst one at the bottom and the best one at the top, and you look at it, and I look at it and I go, right, I have a table, I look at the table and I go, which is my worst shoe? So I'm going to turn my worst shoe into my best shoe. And that's what I keep doing. I keep looking and I go, right, when I first started practicing the 12 and fulled and the deep sea, it was my worst class. So I'm like, I'm going to turn that into my best class. Like, and if you keep working on your weaknesses and making them better, then yeah. But there's times when, of course, when I've been in the forge and, I have the checks on the wall, and I've looked up at the checks and I've thought to myself, Beanie, get a grip. Like, you've been world champion before, come on. Yeah. But I also feel that for me to practice, I have to want to practice. There's no point getting back and forcing myself to go in there, because that's when you don't want to be in there. And everyone's going to peak. And Darren Bazin said to me, everyone's going to peak at a point. So you want to peak at the contest, not you make shoes at the contest and you come home. And I think in the shoemaking, I didn't peak at Spruce. I made better shoes at home than I made at Spruce. And I think I probably overcooked that. But overcooking it for my stage now is like, some of them I made 8, some of them I made 2 roadsters. It's like, because I'm at a different point in my career, whereas I used to be like in there regimental. But now it's weird, because people say, oh yeah, you practiced after shoeing. But for me, I practice better after a day shoeing. Because if I go in there after I've done a big day shoeing, you make every hammer blow count, you make sure that you get on with it and get it done. and you also put yourself through that fatigue that you were on about. You put yourself through that because everyone has a point where, and I remember, I told myself this years ago, I was like, my arm is cramped up, but I ain't gonna let anyone know that arm's cramped up. Like, because that's the kind of way it is. And this year, Matt Argo said to me, why are you turning your anvil round in the shoeing? And I was like, there's two reasons. I'm turning my anvil round in the shoeing because I want to see the clock. And the second thing, I'm turning around in the shoeing so that everyone else on that side can see how far ahead I am, which is a confident thing to say. But, you know, you've got to be like, no one, it's funny when someone starts forging, everyone looks around and they're like, when someone burns on, everyone's like, but you've got to do everything right, and you've got to do everything. You ain't got, at the level now, you haven't got time to fix anything, but you do have to be self-critical. And it's funny because at Yorkshire Show this year, I hadn't won a shoemaking class for at least a year and a half, which is like, back in the day, that's what I used to be quite good at. And this year for Yorkshire Show, I was like, yeah, I want to go there. And I went there and I won the shoemaking, and that was a really big thing. And I made sure I practiced for it so that I could go there and win it, because confidence is a big deal.
That's so
and
true.
Getting out and competing, and you know, without a doubt. And team, like now, I love team competitions, and I try to get different partners. This year for Masters Cup in Canada, I'm taking George Rogerson. I never worked with George, but I think it's weird that, you know, I was going to say my age then, which I can't really say my age because Kat thinks I'm 35 plus tax.
Plus tax.
But she doesn't know what the tax is. It's about 20%. But yeah, I think you just have to keep looking and evolving and trying to better yourself. And I think now it's amazing to see Troy Wood. I'm a big fan of Troy's, and you know, if I see him put an Instagram story or you put an Instagram story, I'm all over it. I'm like, okay, what's going on here? And Ian Ritchie said that actually, and it's weird because you don't notice this yourself, but Ian's like, when you were in Vancouver, he said, every time I was judging a foot, no matter who it was, you were there. And I was there, like, and I didn't even realize I was doing it, but I was there. And whether he's judging Findlers or he's judging Dan Corkery's, he's saying stuff to hands that he likes and he dislikes. Yeah. So you're there, and you're
taking that information in.
And the way I see it is, it's a bit like playing football. Like, you have to score a goal to win, and if you don't know where the net is, how can you score? And that's the same with horseshoeing. Is we know that the basics are the basics, but we also know the styles, and we also know that different judges like styles and they dislike styles. And I think that you also, when I went to Vancouver, I soon realized that I'm a big dorsal rounder. I like to keep strength in the feet. When I went to Vancouver, I was like, it's weird because I was meant to be making my shoe, but they were judging my trim, and I was like, listening to them judging my trim, like, okay, oh, they don't like that rounding. Okay. So when I came home from Vancouver, and I said to the boys, I was like, right, we're because I don't generally flare dress every day, but unless it needs it. But I was like, no, I'm flare dressing everything. I'm dressing them straight, because when you tighten a foot up, you get a slightly different shape. So from Vancouver to Spruce, I slightly altered my shoeing. I started straightening feet up. I altered my fit slightly because you get a different projection. And it's weird because I made a better version of myself from Vancouver. And the English lads, in fairness, I don't mind admitting it, I got some stick about going to that. Like, they were like, that's cheating. You shouldn't be going there. There shouldn't be. And I was like, it's not cheating. Like, anyone can go, but obviously it filled up fast. But like, and I said to Kat at one point, I was like, oh, I'm busy. I don't think I'll go. And Kat's like, if you want to be world champion, you have to go. And I remember I went with Toby, and Toby come with me, and we were there for like 2 nights, and we flew in the day before. We got there, and we were pretty jet lagged. And it's weird because when you're tired, you do make stupid mistakes.
Yeah.
Like, you just do it. And that's why I think if you can kind of condition your body to go through the tired and
condition your mind to do it, because it
condition your
is,
mind. Yes, the mind is
it's a
important.
thing. Yeah, it's a thing of like, you get tired and your subconscious tries taking over.
Yeah.
Well, your subconscious is going to do things that your conscious mind doesn't want you to do. It's like they talk a lot about it, like in military snipers and like hunting and stuff like that, of like you'll get tired and you'll get in a high nervous situation on the gun and you'll just jerk the trigger and pull it, close your eyes, you don't even know what happened. After it's all said and done, I'm sure like you've probably been in competitions and like horses like this where you're like, I have no idea what just went down there, but it's all done. You know what I mean? Like afterwards. But it's like, you have to fight your head to be like, stay in this, keep making good decisions, be conscious, because you can't be good at that unless you've been jet lagged and trying to do something that's very high detail. Like you got to put yourself in that spot.
Yeah, you do. It's you got to, and you've also got to be open-minded as well. Like I'll talk to judges and I take feedback and I try to take that on board, because they're giving up their time and they're doing it to try and make you better. Like whether you like it or not, they are. But I think the biggest thing is being self-critical. That's the biggest.
It is something of, I haven't judged a ton of contests, but I've judged a few now, and it's, you are the most competitor I've ever judged. Like you are gonna send messages, you know what I mean? You're gonna probably, I'm sure you're studying the guy's social media beforehand, you know what I mean? Like it's
I'm gonna do my homework.
Like and it's like you're saying, like it's not cheating, it's free, it just takes work. That it's like, and you were like, the whole entire time I was judging that contest, you were right there the whole entire time asking me questions about everything that I was doing. You know what I mean? And I was like, as a judge, it makes it get straightforward. There's no of that, like, oh, I wonder what I think about this when it comes up. Like, it's already kind of sorted out before it happens.
We've also got the great sponsor and partner of Forge of Rain podcast, World Championship Blacksmiths. Without the World Championship Blacksmiths, we wouldn't necessarily have the community that we have already as farriers amongst us. The WCB is not about shunning the folks that don't compete. We're about getting together the people who do. Go ahead and be yourself because you think it is a private club. The fact that there are so many hardworking men and women that don't interact is a shame. When several farriers get together for a hammer-in or going to talk about shoeing this one gelding, ideas skyrocket and the mind goes wild with possibilities. So if you're looking for a place to test your abilities and grow your skill set, the World Championship Blacksmiths is the place to do that. Upcoming next is the National Finals in Fort Worth, Texas. That is December 3rd, and the registration deadline is November 22nd. And then after that, they have the Winter Clinic that we'll talk about here in a little bit. That is January 15th to the 17th, and the deadline is January 8th. And after that, it's the West Texas Ranch Rodeo, March 22nd. Contests on their website, they have swag and tools that you can get. They have the new Seahorse toolboxes and tool cases in stock again, so you can find those on their website, and they have the catatonic hammers in stock as well. So you can go to their website and use code BRAINS, and that'll save you 10% off on their website for orders. It's not including contest fees and net membership, but support those who support you and go online and find the World Championship Blacksmiths as a place where you can invest in yourself by investing in your skill set and grow as a person, becoming friends with those that are around the world and in the United States. And you probably find somebody that lives close to you and reach out in a community just like that.
You're a very, very smart competitor.
Like, I think that is the key. I think is you have to make everything intentional. So if you trim a foot and it's flat and it's the shape of that foot, and you give a shoe that fits it, how can you really knock that? And then you nail and clench it well. But we just have to be hard on ourselves and take that on board. I think that's and I do it every day, and I'm very, very self-critical, and my apprentices, sometimes I can be unreasonable, sometimes I can be pretty reasonable, but I'm quite I expect the horses to be shod to a high standard. It doesn't matter if we're doing 24 or whatever. I always say on Facebook, one standard, and that's true. Like, the last one's got to be as good as the first. And Hugh Dyer taught me that. Hugh Dyer said to me at 17, you're only as good as your worst job or your last job. And I was like, yeah, he's right. Because when you get tired, it's easy to go, that'll be all right. And it's funny when you practice and you're a bit tired, you put the shoes on the floor and you're like, oh yeah, they're crackers. And you go in the next morning, you're like, who's messed about with my shoes?
Yeah, big time.
So what are some standards to you? Like, what are the basics of a good shoe job
The basics
right now in your mind?
Yeah, I think the basics of a good shoe job is that you should go back to it and it looks like a longer version of when you left it. I want it to be on tight. I want the clenches to be there. I don't want it to be hanging over it. And, and when you teach people, it's hard because you expect them to do it to your standard. And it's really, really hard because when you give them a new rasp, they rasp the clenches off, they over rasp it, they do stuff. It's really hard to, it's good. Like, I love shoeing by myself, but I love shoeing with helpers. But sometimes it's nice to shoe by yourself because you see the whole thing. Whereas sometimes you see them clench it and you're like, oh, I just don't know if I'd have done it quite like that. But and you have to tell yourself, no, it's all right. And then you teach them. But definitely teaching is good. And at the moment, I've got a really keen lad. He's only a second year and he's keen. And when he comes along and he's just turned 18 and he wants to do the England apprentice team and he wants to practice, I think it's good because I think it makes you want to get in the forge and he asks you stuff. And I think keeping proactive is really, really good, without a doubt. But for me, I'm a basic sort of guy. I think to be a good farrier, the shoes have got to stay on and the horses have got to be sound. That's really all the customers are really bothered about. Mm-hmm. So that's for me, is I don't want any lost shoes, because lost shoes are a pain for everyone, because it doesn't matter how much you charge for it, it's your time. And I think time is the big factor. Like, in England, without a doubt, do we get paid unbelievable amount? No. Do I get paid well for my time? And Craig Trinker asked me that once, and I was like, hell yeah, of course I do. We go out in a 10-hour day and do like nearly 30 sets. Yeah, my time's pretty good. And I think that's the key. I think everyone gets worried about this or that or what they're charging, but I think you just have to be happy with yourself. And I think you have to look at a horse when you go back to it. And I try to teach. That's the bit you miss when you have helpers, because you don't see it with the shoe on because they pull it off. Yeah. And then you kind of look at it and you're like, lads, are the nails sheared on that? And they're like, oh yeah, it's sheared something else. So then you're like, okay, we're going to up a size. And then once the helpers are on it, they're going to say to you stuff. And I think that's when I learn the most, is when I look at it. And I look at it honestly. Sometimes I look at a horse and I go, I didn't do a great job of shoeing that last time. And that's when I kick myself up the ass and I go, okay, let's get it on the peg. Let's dress it. Let's fit it. Let's nail it. Let's make some shoes. So they don't have the opportunity to go, I think we should get someone else. Because I tell myself I'm not the farrier that goes out there and looks at a horse that comes and goes. Because Hugh taught me, don't ever say anything bad about another shoeing job, but look at another shoeing job and figure out what was right and what was wrong. Yeah. So that's what I kind of do, is I kind of look at what I've got, look at how it's stood, I look how its foot's growing, because for me, feet grow in two ways. They're either going to grow vertical depth or flare. No one wants flare, so get it under the fetlock, get it stood up and get a bit of vertical depth. And
through the years of like doing that number of horses, did you ever like go through a phase where you maybe did all handmades on all the horses versus keg shoes? Did you ever kind of mess around with that at all?
Yeah, that's a really good question, Gavin. Yeah, so when I qualified in 2001, I decided I was going to shoe 6 a day and I was going to make all the shoes. I figured out that if I want to get good, I've got to make the shoes. So I would very much make the shoes, take them, I'd write the notes in my book and I'd take them and I'd be like, I got that wrong. So then I would be like, okay, I'm going to keep the old shoes. I'm going to make the shoes to the old shoes. So I started to learn shapes, learn where quarters were, figure it out. And so I did that, and then as I got busier, I was like, okay, I'm going to buy the Heinz. Back then there was a competition. Billy Crothers had a competition called Handmade Shoes, and you used to win a ton of shoes. Well, I
nice.
won it six times.
So, yeah, I think I have seen. I've seen people post that where they got a pallet of shoes that they won from the contest.
Yeah. So I was like, okay. So Billy was laughing because all I bought was Heinz. So I just buy all Heinz.
Yeah.
And I'd make the fronts because I kind of figured out that a generic Heinz you can kind of get away with, but a front, you really want a shoe that's replicates that foot with the individual pitch. And so that's where I went. And then when I took apprentices on, they used to have a day in the forge making shoes, and I expected 5 pairs an hour, unclipped, concave, and they used to do that. So then they would make fronts, and then I would clip them. I didn't let them clip them because if you let them clip them, the clip can go in the wrong place, and they're going to put a bad clip on which ruins the shoe, or it's going to take them 2 heats to clip it, and they have a heat to shape it. Well, they could make another shoe in 3 heats. So I was very much, it was a production. And that's what I think horseshoeing for me is. It's a commercial business. I try to teach my apprentices it is a commercial business. Like we need to go out, and we need to, sometimes you go out and you make good money. Sometimes you go out and it doesn't go to plan. That's just life. And I always tell myself, and I tell my apprentices, that when you think you're having a bad day, someone else is having a worse day. And I think if you tell yourself that, you kind of get through life pretty good, really. You're just like,
it's an interesting way to look at it.
Yeah, we are in such a blessed time right now. You know what I mean? It's like the worst of days with thrush and like mud all over you, and nothing's going right, and you drove a nail into your, like, you're still like, this is still pretty good. Like, this is still all right, man.
But I think that's because we love horseshoeing, and that's I love horseshoeing as much now as when I first shod my first horse. It's like, I love
One of my favorite things you post is when you shoe the draft horses and you make those like 2 heat fronts. You know what I mean? Like every time I see those, I was like, I'm just like, that is the definition of like cool production shoeing right there. Like, and all those dudes that are like, you see it on Facebook a lot. Dudes hate shoeing draft horses. They all kind of complain about it. And like, I love shoeing draft horses because as soon as you get it to where like, man, they don't take you that long, and they're pretty easy to shoe. It's like they're money makers. And when I see you make those shoes, I'm like, oh, that's making money. Those are money making shoes.
I would say they're like what I would say like everyday boots. Like they're round, they're the right, they're knocked round. Sorry, they're not round, but they're knocked round the right shape, quarters in the right place, because you're fitting in a gas forge. So I just want to have one heat and fit it. The basics are there, and then I try to let the boys make them. That's always quite hard because then the pitch isn't what it should be. But the lads make them, and we bring the old shoes back, and they'll make them and start with backs. But there's one horse down there that has the reverse heels in front and masselets behind. I don't really let anyone make that one because it's just like, I don't want to go there with a shoe that's not going to fit. But you're right, we get there. We get 3 of them out, and there's a trim, the next generation basically. So there's the free to shoe and a trim, and we go with the qualified lad Callum. He tends to go, and we round robin it. So we only take 2 shoes off at a time. So then they're happy stood on the other side, and then away we go. And we'll be in and out of there, 3 sets of drafts and the trim in 2 hours, 2 hours 10 minutes, and they're on big money.
Do you keep a lot of drafts on your book, like on your schedule?
Nah, not really. I do these, the 4 at Sam Smith's brewery, and that's funny because my old mentor Glenn did them for about 24-5 years, something like that. And when he was on his deathbed, he actually said to me, "Will you promise me?" I used to go and help him, and then I was doing them for him when he was ill, and he said, "Promise me you won't get rid of them." And I was like, that is a hard promise to make. And he's like, "Look, you gotta promise me 2 things." He said, "You won't get rid of them, and you won't leave all the shoes to the night before." He said, "Because if you do that, you won't enjoy doing it." And I always leave all the shoes to the night before. That's like,
But you're at least still doing them. You're
Yeah.
at least still doing it.
But it's funny because that's what Hugh kind of put into me at a young age. Is Hugh was the sort of guy you work for that he used to write in the diary how long it took you to do the yard. So I remember he used to press the button on this yard. I can't remember the yard, but there was like a few sets and a few trims, and there's only me and him. And he's like, "Okay, the time is 10:51. Enter." And we enter, and then he
Like
writes
Mortal
down
Kombat.
how long it took you. And I was like, and Hugh said to me, he's like, "Stephen, if you go out there and you say to yourself, I'm going to do 5 a day," he said, "it'll take you all day to do 5. He said, if you say to yourself, I'm going to do 4 days, he said, before you long it, you're going to take all day. He said, so just tell yourself, okay." And I have a watch, and it's weird because, like, if a customer listens, like, yeah, I can up the tempo. If I look at my watch and I think, okay, we're running a little bit behind schedule, I can turn it on a bit. Like, okay, let's get going. And then I can step back. And I think it's a funny thing with customers. If you, they don't seem to mind if you're under that horse, and I think I want to be under there as little amount of time as possible, and I want to be quick. But it's funny, they don't seem to mind if you're under there quick. But if you start running around the yard, they're like, "Oh, you're in a rush today." Like,
Yeah, they pick up on that.
it's a funny thing. But Hugh kind of Hugh really taught me well. He taught me how to stock a van. He taught me how to run a business. He taught me that to be a good farrier, you have to be good with metalwork. You have to be a good horseman, and you also have to be good at business. But I think that the business thing I only got good at business basically when I got divorced, because I kind of figured out that, okay, I got to rebuild a bit. So I used to joke with customers that there was a divorce tax, but I wasn't joking. Like, there actually was. But I think as I got later in my career, I got better at invoicing, and I got figured out that, you know what, like, when you're making shoes for horses, when you're doing that job, like, you need to get paid well for it. And it took me to passing my fellowship to realize that. And I wish I'd have known that at a younger age. But now I realize that. And it's a funny thing is, because I'm still kind of, like, if they want an invoice, I'm good with the pen. Like, I'm good with the invoice. But if they ask me to my face, how much is it? I'm like, and all farriers are the same.
Oh, yeah. Dude, yeah. It's even, I'm that way even in my business of like, I don't want to talk to somebody in the messages about prices. I'm like, here, just go to my website and buy it. Then I don't have to say it to your face. It's just like, just go over here and pay me. It is hard, man.
I think being a Yorkshireman, we like value for money. So I want people to get value for money, and it's hard, but definitely in the latter years, I've realized that, like, what we do is skill to do it. And I went out this morning, I made a pair of plain stamp bar shoes yesterday morning at 6:30 in about half an hour, and they went on. And if you're making shoes for feet, it saves you a lot of time. For me, like, that's the key. And very much the night before, like, if we're going out on a Monday and I've got 28 in or 30 in, I'm going to get the shoes. They're all going to be ready to go. So they're going to be drilled for what they need. If I know this horse needs handmaids on it, they're going to be ready to go. And if I know that this yard, I want to be quick there, I'm going to shape the shoes up before I get there.
Yep.
Anything I can do the night before, a bit of prep, so that I get there and I'm smooth, is
Oh, I think it's huge, because I think it does kind of two things of, like, you don't know if it's quicker in the shop unless you are wearing a watch during your everyday work, and you know how long it takes you in the field. Like, I know how long it takes me to make a shoe or even clip a shoe in the field compared to just at home in the Coke Forge.
Yeah.
I'm way faster, more relaxed, everything's easier. Also, confidence. We've talked about confidence this whole thing. I think your clients having confidence in you is a huge freaking thing. If you can show up and the shoe just falls onto the foot and you get to burn it on once and go, like, you barely even shaped the thing in their mind, they think you are God's gift to horseshoe. Like, right. And like, it's a good confidence to have. But if you are over there and you've made 3 trips now to the horse trying to fit this one shoe and it still doesn't look very good, man, their confidence is pretty low in you, even if they don't say anything. It's
that's
starting
true.
to go away.
And before we get to the yard, I do like it. It's weird because I do what I was taught, and I think that's what happens with farriers. We kind of do what we're taught. And when I was with Hugh was very good at like man management. So before we got to a yard, he'd be like, "Right, Stephen, you get the chestnut out. Harvey, you get the coloured out, and then get the hinds off first. Trim, I'm gonna fit." And that's how we kind of get there. And I'll tell the boys, okay, get this out, do this. We'll do this one last. That one kind of needs holding. We're going to do that. This is this. Yeah, and we kind of like, they have to like put the phones down before we get there and have a bit of a debrief. And then we get there and you kind of get there and everyone's like, oh, it's like a, what do they call it? Oh, it's like a conveyor belt. This is like a conveyor belt. As soon as you put the foot down, he's got it up. And that is pretty much, everyone has their own job. And, then the boys will start pulling, clenching, prepping, and then they'll start filling in. I'll put the toenails in, they'll finish nailing. So they're only putting a few nails in. And then if the owners aren't there, then you can really say, look, this, and you can teach them. But when the owners are there, it's very much, right, this is your job, because the customers have to get confidence in the apprentices.
Oh yeah.
That's really important, is that because they don't want to know that apprentice is learning on their horse. I don't think someone should learn on their horse.
No.
But I agree people have to learn, but the standard has to stay the same. And it's, a lot's changed with the job. I think the way we are and the way we train and is changing because the world's changing. When I was 16, I didn't have a mobile phone. I didn't have any money. I couldn't go out. I didn't have any money. I didn't have a phone. I didn't have a social life. I had a forge next to the house where I lived, so I was like, I'm going in there.
Yeah.
And but stuff's changing, and an old farmer told me a long time ago, was when I first started having apprentices, I was pretty hard. I ran a few out of the shop. Like they didn't last that long. And this old farmer goes to me, Ted. He had Clydesdale, so he's the only, I do the Shires and I do these Clydesdales. That's the only heavies I do. And but Ted's passed away, and his like nephews took him on, and I do them for him. And Ted said to me one day, he's like, Stephen, you know your problem? And I was like, no, Ted, what is it? It's like, you're trying to work people as hard as you work yourself. It's never going to work. It's never going to work. He said, you work them half as hard as you work yourself, they're going to last a bit. He said, you need to work them a third as what you work yourself. So after that day, I was like, yeah, maybe he's true, But no, I've been lucky. I've had some little Matt Argo, James Hardy, Henry Chitty. I've had some great apprentices, and they've turned out to be good friends. And
what were some of the things that you had them tone down? So versus like working 100% as hard as you, what were the things that you took back 2/3 out of their workforce or workload that day?
I think that the hours, like I think that you have to have it set up so they get in. When they get in, the van's ready to go. So they don't want to be stood in the forge or hanging around. You get in the van and we go. And then you kind of get to a job pretty quick. I don't do a lot of traveling. So when you're traveling a lot, that wastes a lot of time and that's when you kind of lose the momentum. If you're traveling a long way, you're like, oh my God. But that's when I like to put a podcast on and listen to that, because I think it's great. You listen to stuff and it's brilliant. But I tried to shorten the days, just say, right, okay, this is what we're going to work. But to do that and to do the horses I wanted to do, it has to be organised. So now, very much on a weekend, I sit down and I'll move customers around. And when you start moving customers around, all of a sudden they're like, oh no, I don't want that slot. So I'm like, that's the only slot I got. You get done at 8 o'clock on Tuesday, or you'll just have to get someone else. I'm really sorry. So then all of a sudden, oh no, that's fine. Yeah, we'll leave Betty in the stable. It work. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, we're going to make that work. And I think you have to have a good relationship with your clients. And I think that was the best thing, is to realise that after this podcast, Kat's got a few tool orders. So I was in the forge at 6 this morning making tools till 7. The lads come at 7. We got back today and I let the boys they've got some aluminium feet. They've had to make them fit and they've gone home early. I'll go back up there and do tools. But I think when I first got the lads, I was like expecting them to do the hours with me and do the horses, and but now I realize that it's a job to them, and this is a way of life for us. But for a young person, this is a job, and we have to kind of. So they don't. My apprentices never work Saturdays. They never work Sundays. I like them to have the weekend off. I pay them if we do overtime. I pay them. I make them tools, and I think.
Do you
I think
pay
you've got
them
to
like a
treat them with
salary?
respect, huh?
Do you pay them on a salary or a day basis, or how do you go
No,
about?
I pay them. It's a weekly salary, yeah. But if they do overtime, I give them overtime, and yeah,
Okay.
I kind of then it makes them wanna do extra work.
Yeah.
Well, not even extra work. It sounds like you're very good at making them a part of the process
Yeah,
and just keeping them busy. Where it's like,
and
hey, you're not just like, okay, well, go get after it, and then getting mad when they aren't getting after what you expected. You're like, you're giving them a very clear path and something to do.
yeah, and I think it's like I'm an active guy, so like I'm out there. So like we turned up at a yard yesterday, and there was free trim. So I was like, before we got there, I'm like, you're gonna take that one. That's pretty easy. You're gonna flatten your heels. You're gonna get it on the stand. I'm gonna take this one, and but I'm like under it. I'm under mine. I'm like, I'm gonna get finished first. So like, I'm setting the standard to them. I'm not gonna
Yep.
sit back and say, "Come on, like I'm there with them." Like, and I'm not gonna. It sounds bad because like some training farriers or farriers, or if they've got a helper, they're gonna put a helper under the jerk. But I'm not gonna put the helper under the jerk because I don't want to have to ring Ruben's mum and say Ruben's been hurt. Like, and if he's hurt, then he can't
Yep.
work.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
like, I'll get under the bad uns, they'll clench, and yeah, I think you have to make a bit of. The problem with young people is they don't have a great risk assessment. We know that horseshoeing changes, and it
Oh yeah.
changes fast.
Oh
And
man. Yeah.
I'm well aware. I'm looking around. I'm like, you need to move that box. You need to loosen that one a bit before you get under that front foot. You have to kind of be on it all the time because it takes a young person a long time to get that because they're pretty fearless. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
I
true.
can remember first when I was 21 to now, like I would get under anything, and now I'm like, I don't even want to, just for the fear of something going wrong and happening. You know,
but I
the risk.
think a good point is, Gavin, is that like, how did I change it? Is that like, before I expected an apprentice when in the forge, they had to make 5 pairs an hour. If I said to a young person now, you have to make 5 pairs an hour from 8 till 12, you can have 40 minutes for lunch, and then you get back after it. They wouldn't even last a day.
Yeah, that's a lot. It's a lot.
So now I kind of moderate it. So I'll drop them for the odd hour here and there, and I think, yeah, I think I think I'm a better, I'm definitely evolved, and I'm a better trainer now, and yeah, I think that you have to. I think you have to have a mutual respect. I think they have to respect you as the boss, and you have to respect them as the apprentice. But
Yeah.
I've had people say, "Oh, I wouldn't ever let an apprentice in my house. I wouldn't do this. I wouldn't do that." But like, no, they'll come in here and have dinner if we're a bit late. And they. If you spend 3 years, 9 months with someone, if they're not your friend at the end of that, then it's a pretty bad job. Like,
Yeah,
Oh yeah.
it's not enjoyable.
They're not going to be giving you much of themselves either. Like it's not helping you out either. Not being
no,
friends with them.
yeah, like
Like
little Matt Argo was, Matt and JMO and the Ruben I've got at the moment, like he treats this like it's his own business. And that's
yeah.
pretty much how I was with Hugh Dyer. Like I wanted to do Hugh proud, and I'm lucky that if you find the right ones, they do want to do you proud. And when I went to Spruce, they took charge of it, and they went out and they sorted it out, and if there was any shoes, they did it. And that's a real big thing for you, because you go away and you're like, I can go away. And that is a big help as well, because when you go away, if you get someone ringing you with a shoe or a problem, or it's a nightmare. But if you've got people trained up and they know the round, and then it's good. Like,
Yeah, it never
yeah,
fails. The first day you leave, you get a call. So and so lost a
Yeah.
shoe. Never fails.
So, Steven, you've been making some tools for a while. You mentioned that
Yeah.
you guys do like a tool a day. Uh, what are all some tools that you make? And I'm sure like everybody's seen too, like your whole sanding systems and stuff. Like, what was that just born from competition making the tools?
Yeah, I think, like yourself, as an apprentice, I couldn't really afford good tools, like, so I had to make them. And then I soon realized that when I wrecked that stamp, I had to sharpen it. So then I was like, okay. And then Glenn that I used to go to, he was a good tool maker. So I started, and then I was very pally with Derek Gardner. He was a tool maker. And when I went on in 2001, we had a foot and mouth outbreak in the UK. So there was no competitions, and I just qualified. And I'm like, I need to be busy. So I met Austin Edens on the exchange, and I rung Austin. He's like, yeah, you just tell me when you land and I'll pick you up. So I went across to Texas for 3 months, and he sent me with Bill and Jim Parr and Mark Milston. I stayed with Austin and his dad, and I went to the Oklahoma contest and won a couple of classes, and which was cool. And I learned so much. But when I went to Jim Parr's, Jim would get me on doing tongue reins. He'd get me on. Jim's like, did you make these tools? I was like, yeah, I made them. He's like, oh, you can forge a stamp? I was like, yeah. He's like, well, the power hammer die is not really working right. He's like, do you want to start forging some stamps? I was like, yeah, fine. So I had like 2 pieces of steel, and I was forging stamps out. And he goes, if you can make a stamp like this, you can make a stamp for me. And then I kind of got into it when I was with Jim. You kind of see it. And then I kind of, with horseshoeing, I always thought that horseshoeing's great, but what happens if one day you can't shoe?
Yeah.
And then I was pally with John Atkinson on the English team, and I kind of thought, you know what, I've made my own tools and I've kind of got my own kind of style, and people liked it, and I was like, I'm going to have a go at it. And I remember speaking to my mum and dad in 2013. I was like, I'm going to set up a tool business, and my mum and dad, it was foreign to them. They knew that I could go out, shoe horses, make good money. So I think that's a really bad idea. I don't think you should do that. Because the problem when you set something up is you have to invest.
Mm-hmm.
And it worried my mum and dad, and then I kind of got going with it, and I think what amazes people is how much I do myself, because yes, I have a guy makes the hammers, a guy that he used to make cat's head hammers, which was a good hammer, and he had the basics there, but he didn't have the style or the finish. So he makes my hammers. He's down at Leeds, so he's like 40 minutes away. And I have a blacksmith now forges my punches. And then I make all the handles, and weld them, dress them, heat treat them, wrap them. The fullers are water jet. So water jet's good because you consistently get the same thing. But then I have to grind them all, heat treat them all, stamp them, shaft them, bag them. All the knives I have to sharpen. So it's weird that I do have to do every tool that I make, I have to touch it.
Yep.
And it's
Get your
weird because
stamp of approval.
if you don't touch it, then it's, and it's hard because I have 2 good apprentices. Could they grind a stamp or a fuller? No. To have an eye to be a grinder is
huge.
Hard.
yeah.
It's such a skill set.
It's a skill set, yeah. But I enjoy doing it. I think one day a week I enjoy it, and I love doing it. And obviously I like seeing people use tools, and and since Kat, obviously when Kat came to England, because she's a farrier from Quebec, obviously the laws in England are so different. You have to be qualified or registered. So for Kat to shoe here, she'd have to do a diploma or do a certified journeyman, which is kind of hard. So the role was Kat would take over Beanie Tools, and she would be the distributor, and she's grown it immensely, and it's all down to Kat, really. So now Kat's my boss. So Kat will put she'll say to me, okay, you need 3 concave stamps, you need 4 regular fullers, you need this and you need that, and Kat wants to ship. Whereas before, when I was with Handmade Shoes, I used to just send Handmade Shoes. So I would send stuff to Handmade Shoes once a month, and if they messaged me and said we need stuff, I'd be like, oh, I'm a bit busy, so it's going to be a few weeks. But now Kat is very on it. She wants stuff done so she can send it, and
Yep.
And that's the hard thing, because shoeing is like instant money in a way. You go out, you shoe a horse, you get paid. Tools is like you have the outlay for the steel, and then you kind of send the tool, and then you get paid a month later, 5 weeks later. Sometimes you get paid up front, and it's kind of and you get a load of steel and you're like, oh my God. Like,
it's a lot of work ahead of me.
It is. Well, it is like shoeing horses is very, like you said, it's just very direct. Just bing, bing.
Yeah,
like you're like, I just did some work. I maybe did like $5 worth of. You're not adding everything up every single time. Where tool making is like, if you're going to make money in tool making, you need to be buying everything in bulk and kind of selling things a little bit more in bulk. And it's just bigger numbers, bigger time frames, bigger things, and you're like, it's business. It's real business. It's not like horseshoeing. It's a little bit different.
This episode is brought to you by Yukon Forge. Lately, John has come up with a new design on his punches. So previously they were wooden-handled punches, and now he's re-innovated his line where they're welded-on steel-headed punches. So he's got E-heads and City heads up on his website now. He's also got every other tool that you could need and use in your everyday practice available on his website, yukonforge.com. He's taken over the drive and hammer business from Flatland Forge, and now it's all Yukon Forge, and they have the Edward Martin style hammer as well with the thistle on there. You can check that out. I use it every day in my shoeing practice now, so it's dang sure it works pretty dang good, so I'm happy with it. John's also come up with the propane nut to make ease of tightening on your propane for your forge to the propane bottle and not have to have a wrench on hand. He's got the 2-pound hammers, 1 3/4 rounding hammers, 2.5, 2 1/4, anything you could need, he's got it on his website. He's also got replacement handles. If you need to replace a handle in one of your hammers, you can find those on there as well. So when you go to yukonforge.com, use code BRAINS and save yourself a little bit of money and get 10% off your order. I don't think of it a better idea than that. He's also got hoof knives on there, left-handed and right-handed. He's got tongs in every size that you can need, from 1/4 inch up to 1/2 inch and probably 5/8 inch as well. So go on his website and check him out. We really like working with John because he takes the time to figure out how to make each tool the best that it can possibly be. He's not trying to sell you some gimmick or something that just, it's going to be easier to make it this way. He actually takes the time, figure out the process on how to make this tool the best tool that it can be to last for your everyday work, and he wants to get your money's worth out of it as well. And John's also been there, done that throughout his career. He's been on the American Farriers team. He's judged multiple contests, and he's also had a full career as a farrier, and he's now just getting into bigger, better things. So go check him out, yukonforge.com. Thank you.
And now I'm at the point now where it's hard, because I really need to probably do 2 days a week on the tools. So what do you do? Because I've got a good shoeing round, it's busy.
And it is one of those things of like, because I'm sure somebody will hear that and you're like, oh, well, I wanted to make some like almost a different type of income than the horseshoeing. And everyone's like, well, yeah, why doesn't everybody do that? Well, it's like, you can't miss out on the fact that you're touching every tool. That's the thing that keeps your tool line.
Yeah.
That's the thing that keeps Jim Poor's tool line. You know, Jim Poor tools are so good because of those finishing touches. Your tools are so good because of those finishing touches. That's why everybody can't have a tool company. But it's also a fact of like, there is a line in business where you can take on too much work and it's not going to make you any more money.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So it's like, will the 2 days of tool making equal out double the income? Well, it might not. Like it might not. It might just be double the work. It is a very hard thing.
Yeah, it's true. I think sometimes you do have to look at the structure of your business. And the other day, I looked at the structure of the shoeing. I was like, you know what? Like, there was a part where we were just like treading water. Like you kind of just like, your bank goes up, and then it goes down, it goes up, goes down, and it is hard, because it's a hard balance. Because having staff is great because it makes life easier, I think everyone's got so many horses in them. So if you have staff, it kind of like Hugh used to say to me, it's their back, not yours. But it's kind of like it's true. Like it definitely helps. But then there comes a point where you think to yourself, okay, if I have too many staff, then I have to do more horses. And it is really like, that's when you have to become a better businessman and go, okay, this is this. And I said to someone the other day, someone said to me at a clinic, they were like, what do you do if there's that yard that you don't really like going to? And I was like, I like going to all my yards. They're like, why is that possible? I was like, because if I don't like going there, I'm going to charge them enough so that I like going there. That's the
Yes.
that's the kind of way that, like, if they want you to do it and it is in that kind of thing, then yeah, like I'm lucky that I kind of, as a young age, I said I ain't going to shoot for anyone I don't like, because if I shot for someone I didn't like, I probably wouldn't put the effort in, and I probably wouldn't want to go there, and then I would not answer the phone. Or so I think you have to, yeah, as farriers in England, that's the biggest gripe, is farriers not turning up, farriers not answering the phone. And it doesn't take a big deal to, if I don't want to shoot for anyone anymore, I'm just going to say to them, look, I'm going to shoot your horse, and then I don't want to shoot for you anymore.
Yep.
And if you've got 6 weeks to give someone else, and that's how it goes. And if they like it, they like it, and if they don't, they don't. But yeah, I try to be fair. I think fair's good, but
be fair and keep it business.
It is hard to run everything, and yeah, it's hard to juggle it. And I think that sometimes I think to myself, like, since Spruce, it's just been a whirlwind. You just seem to kind of like, I went to Stoneleigh, and then after Stoneleigh, I was like, I'm going to have a break. And then we went on honeymoon, and you get back, and when you go away, you're busy before you go, and you get back. And then Toby Pedley messages me the other day, and he's like, we've got the England team trials in end of January. And I'm like, I'm on a break. Like,
I'm chilling right now.
That was going to be like my next question is, so what's on the horizon for you right now in your mind of just...
That is a good question. It's one that I knew you were going to ask. It's one that I don't really fully know the answer to. On the last day of Spruce, I walked into Spruce and I said to myself, if I win today, I'm going to retire. And I said
from
at
competitive
Spruce
horse
it was, yeah, I said it was a way to go out. It was been a long journey, and maybe that's me done, maybe it's not. And yeah, I don't know. Like, I'm emotional now saying it to you guys, because the problem is I love competing. I love it. But I also don't want to. I want people to remember Stephen Beane as the guy that got it done. He got there. He did a good job. I don't. For the person I am, I can't slip down if I slip down third or fourth or fifth, I don't think I'd be a great person to be around long term. I think, and I think it's really hard, because since I won this year, I kind of, it's weird, because a lot of people will know Richard Ellis and a lot of people won't. And Richard Ellis won the World Championship in 1997. And after he won, he never competed again. And I thought, this is weird. This is the Iceman. He's the best of the best.
Yeah.
Why didn't he compete? And then when I won in 2009, I come back, and I was quite depressed after it, like, because
really?
You've achieved something that you've chased for so long.
Yeah.
And this year, I come back, and I wouldn't say I was depressed, but I'm kind of in that low. I'm out of the low a bit now, but I have been a bit low. That, like, okay, I've done what I wanted to do. Now what do I do? And there comes a day when you have to say, I'm walking away. I'm not doing it. And yeah, I don't know. I think when I look at the chasing pack, I call them, Troy Wood, Stan, them guys are hungry.
Yeah.
Hungry. And to get ahead of them, you have to be hungry, and you have to be on top of your game. And will I be hungry next year, knowing what I'm like? I don't know. At the moment, I'm not hungry. I've told Toby I'm not going for the English team. That's me 24 years in a row, and I said I'm pretty much done. But yeah.
24 years in a row you've been on the English team?
24 years in a row, yeah.
Wow. That's incredible.
Yeah, I went from the kid to the old guy, yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah. And it is,
It's incredible too because it's not an easy team to make.
That's true. And Toby said to me the other day, Toby's like, you'll make the England team. I said, yeah, but Toby, I don't want to go to the trial to make the team. I want to go to the trial to probably win the trial, because that's the person I am. Like, yeah, and it's
you should maybe take up like ice climbing or something. Like something that has some depth in it, you know, a little edge. Like, but I think it's just a new goal, like something harder.
Yeah, and I think it is. I think you have to have a goal, and you know, everyone says to me now, like, you've got to go back. It's, you know, Grant's on 6, you're on 6. You've got to go back.
I was wondering about this, like,
and I would love to go back. The Stephen Beane that won this year, would I go back? Yes, but next year, will I still be like I'm 46? Troy's 22. You know, that's whether we. I hope Kat's not listening, because she knows. Because when we got married, she's like, "You're 45," and I was like, "No, I'm 42." She's like, "I've looked at your passport, and it says you're 45." And I was like, "No, I'm 42." She's like, "No, you're not." So she knows now. But yeah, it's the problem is that to win, you have to be on good form. You have to be ailment free. Everything has to line up. You have to have a good team that I've spoke about. I have a really good chiropractor that I go to. Before a contest, I'll go at least once a month. He's going to work on all your arms, and my arms are good. I don't really have any soreness, apart from this year I got kicked a couple of weeks before Spruce by a practice horse, and that kind of like, at that moment I was like, that's it over. And then I told myself, it's funny because how things happen, because the last couple of years I've always made excuses. Like, oh, I'm too busy. I'm just too busy. I've got too much on. And I said to Kat last year that my New Year's resolution was no more excuses. And she said, I'll believe it when I hear it. And I was like, no. So after the horse kicked me, I was like, I dusted myself off. Matt stopped the clock, and I was like, right, well, let's go. Let's go. And Matt's like, are you sure? And I was like, yeah, I'm sure, yeah. Because I told myself, no more excuses. Like, you're not sore, you're not old, you're not thin, you're not too fat, you're not too old, you're not too past it. I was like, no more excuses. Like, and I think that's a good thing. But the mindset I'm in now, will I be in that mindset next year? I don't know. And it is all about mindset. You need to be in that mindset. You need to be hungry, because is Troy Wood going to be hungry? 100%. Are you going to be hungry, Gavin? 100%. Because you're chasing something that you want.
Yeah.
And I think that's this year I wanted it. I wanted it. I'd promised that it was my last year. If I won it, wouldn't go. I'd love to have a family with Kat, but you know, I need to be in her life. Like I can't be going out at 6 and shoeing till 6 and getting back and then saying, okay, I'm going to go and forge now. Like, so it's hard. So at the moment, I don't know. If I was going to go back, I would have to go back straight away, because I'm a big believer in if you have time off. I've never really I've been on the English team 24 years in a row, so I haven't had any time off. That's the truth. And I think when you have time off, the pack just gets better and they move ahead and you get left behind. So I think if I'm going to go again, now's the time to go again. It's took me 3 years to work out how to win it. If I'm going to go again, unless the format changes, now I'm in the best position. But I think you need the right judges, you need the right shoe list. And I think that's important. Is without a doubt, in the past I had, when I was winning Calgary, there was an aluminium shoe in there, and I was like, I'm shit at aluminium. But I was like, no, you've got to get good at it. Obviously, the year before, I was 33rd in the tongs, so I'm not too good at tongs. So
me either.
That was probably the Achilles heel, but I should have. And it was weird because when I went there, I was confident at the tongs. But I think sometimes if you're overconfident at a class, it's a bad thing. Like, it's. But yeah, I think you need the right. Everything needs to line up, and I think I would need. At the moment, I have a good team. I have good apprentices, and life's good. If I think if we had a family, it would. I know the person I am. I'm intense, so I'm going to be involved. So then I think to win, you have to be like you are, Gavin, and like Troy is, and Stan is driven, like
Yeah.
you know. And
So
it's
does
weird
that?
because since I won, I've become pally with Troy and Stan, and I think we have a good respect for each other, and
Oh
I
yeah.
really admire Troy. I think, yeah, I like him. I like him as a person, and I like his work. And yeah, I was messaging before the nationals. Like I wanted him to go and do well. It's
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Oh, it is. It's always an interesting thing for like, especially this year for me watching Spruce is like, I know everybody in the top, and so I'm rooting for everybody, but it's never. It's I'm sure it's the same for you. It's not like you're rooting against Troy. It's like you're out there battling yourself.
Oh
Like
yeah,
it's just
without
a bunch of individual contests, you know. Like that's who's gonna win it is who beat themselves the best that day. Like it is
without
an
a doubt.
interesting thing.
Yeah, and I think it was nice. There was, a picture paints a thousand words, and there was a nice picture of when I went up to. It was a surreal moment that because I kind of thought I'd done a good job, and then when they said I'd won the final, I was like, okay, I've won the final, so I've won. And then when they say your name, you're like, whoa. I was emotional, and I went up there and shook Craig's hand, and the photo was a cool photo that Christine captured of Matt Randall stood there and George, and they were
Yep.
both happy. And I think
Yep.
that's the thing is that I think it's hard because everyone there wants to win because we're all
Yeah.
competitive,
That's
and
why we all
sadly,
sign up.
only one person can win. But I
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
think I felt that this year was, I think it was definitely the most special year. Um, Definitely coming back and having, I always want to win when everyone's there. So you don't want to win the year that Matt Randalls isn't there because
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
exactly. So this year I knew Troy and Stan, and I knew Matt and George and everyone. Like I said, there's a massive pack now, and yeah, it's good and it's bad, but it's good because like if you're consistent, you can get ahead. Because if you drop a not such a good go, then you're going to get hit because there's so many good guys.
Yep.
Some
But
something from
yeah,
my own curiosity is you hear about people before a contest, say like Spruce or just a local contest. You think about, well, I want to try to do what the judge wants versus I'm just going to lay down the job that I normally will do and hopefully the judge likes
yeah,
it. What do you kind of like? How do you set yourself up for that? Like, do you think like, oh, I'm going
yeah.
to do what the judges want or I'm going to do what I do?
Yeah, that's a really good question because I've tried to do what the judge wants, and it always goes pear shaped. It always just doesn't work. Like if they say to me, "Oh, we want you to trim a bit harder," then it just doesn't work for me. So,
Yeah.
but I think you get better at understanding. I think it's easy to look at a foot for me and visualize what I want to see at the end of it. If I can kind of talk to the judge, I think the judge has to look at the foot before you start. If we're talking about shoeing, which we are, they've got to look at the foot, and then you have to put to them what you visualize. And
Mm-hmm.
if you put to them what you visualize, then and they like it, and then at Spruce, I said to the judge, is there like any jobs that you quite like? And they were like, oh yeah, we like Justin Fountain's playing stamp job behind. So I'm straight over there. I look at it and
Looking.
I'm like, that's a little bit longer than I'd like. So I said to Matt, I told Matt what I wanted, and he's like, I think you'll be all right with 12. And I was like, no, I'm only 12 and a quarter. They want a bit more on this. And I think that's the key, is that it's such tiny details that the shoe's got to fit and you've got to trim it, but you have to have the same vision. And I think a lot of competitors, when I'm a judge, a lot of competitors just, they don't really talk to you, or they don't really tell you what they're going to do. But for me, I want to talk to a judge. Riley's judged me. I'm going to talk to you about
Yep.
what I'm going to do, and is that how you see this ending up? And then But some judges are very like, I remember at Yorkshire Show, I was trying to talk to Gavin Golby, and Gav's like, just shoot it. So I was like, okay, this conversation's ended. Like,
Yeah.
and that's how it is. But I think if you can visualize what you want to do with it, and I think everyone thinks it's about scoring points, but for me, it's about not losing points. So, you know, everything's got to be intentional. So if you're going to trim that frog, you trim it intentionally. If you do the bars, it's intentional. You know, you do everything and I like that word, intentional. It's got to be intentional. If you're going to fit it, you're going to fit it, and that's how you're going to fit it. If you're going to narrow the inside, you're going to do that, and yeah. But they have to be drawn to your style, and it's weird because judges sometimes tell you. I remember at the Home International years ago, the judge put a slideshow up and he said, okay, I want it nailing a third of the way and this and that. And I was like, a third of the way? Like, what, from the top? He's like, I put my hand up, I was like, from the top? And he's like, no, from the bottom, a third of the way. And I was like, oh, no, I ain't going to do that. Like, this is just not me. So I just nailed it on, clenched it up nice, and I got like some good nines, and Jim Balfour then was like moaning about like, and I was like, well, you just like the guy that taught me, Glenn said to me, go to a show, please yourself, and you'll always go home happy. Yeah. And I think that's a pretty good saying is you've got to go there, you've got to shoot it how you shoot it. But I think if I could shoot and someone could say, because it's all about opinion, is I remember it was funny at Spruce this year because Gavin loved Grant Watt's job, and I liked Grant Watt's job. And it was funny because I knew I had a solid job, and then I was like, okay, so I need to get some more people in the mix here. Grant's a good shooter. So when Grant was about to go on, I was over there. I was like, you all right, Grant? You need anything? And he's like, I want some 783, but there's none left. I was like, what do you want? He's like, oh, like, whatever. And I was like, I've got a piece. You can have it. He's like, are you sure? I was like, oh, yeah. Yeah, you can have it, yeah. I'll go and get it for you. Because I knew I had a good job, but I wanted Grant to get up there so he could get in front of some of the others so that I could spread it out a bit. But then when I gave Grant a bit of steel, and when I saw his job, I was like, this could backfire. Because
I thought it was sweet. It looked cool.
Yeah, it was sweet. And it was sweet. And at the end, if I looked at his and mine at the end, I thought Grant probably had a better job than mine. And I thought Grant might have nipped me. But obviously during the stages, I obviously gave him, there wasn't a lot. I trimmed it and I fitted the trim. I didn't rasp it or cheat it. And I think that's what you've got to do is they might not quite like your style, but if you're consistent, then it's hard to knock. And that's the key is be hard to knock. Yeah. Yep. And that's what I always tell myself. If you give them something to knock you on, then they're going to knock you. But if you go there and you shoot it and you give them not to knock you on, then they can't knock you. People used to say to me, oh, this judge doesn't like you and this judge doesn't like you. But you put that job on the floor, lay it down. How can they knock it? Everyone in the world can see it.
That's right.
But if you do it and, in the first round at Spruce, I had a decent job, but I needed to tuck my heels on and I knew that I'd laid myself open.
Yeah.
And that's where you've got to be is you've got to finish that and go. Whereas in the final, I finished and I was like, I remember telling myself in the final, I got to the 40s. I was first to the 40s, about 8 minutes in, I'd trimmed, I'd burnt. I went to the first foot and I thought to myself, I can win this. This fits. And then I told myself, calm down. There's 32 minutes left. A lot can go wrong. And I think you sometimes have to get yourself back in the box, and that's like, I think I have a lot of sayings, and Gary Darlow taught me that the one that wins the competition is the one that makes the least amount of mistakes, and there's the one that's best at fixing the mistakes. And I think that's really true because I had it as a young farrier, I had it in my mind that it had to be perfect. And the last couple of years, I definitely beat myself up when it wasn't perfect. Because when I was going in 2023, I wanted to lay it down. I wanted to be, and if it didn't quite fit, I kind of lose my head. Whereas the old Stephen used to get to the foot and it was short, and I'd be like, okay, we're just gonna have a heat on this. And whereas this year I was a lot more prepared mentally, and I was more with it. I remember in the egg bars, We're in the egg bars, and Matt gave me my first welding heat, and it didn't weld.
Oh
And
boy.
Matt was like, and I said, Matt, just calm down. We'll open it, we'll clean it, and we'll do it. And that's the pair I won. And then the fronts, I thought the fronts were going smooth as anything, and then I ended about 13th or something. And that's the funny thing. I think sometimes when it starts going wrong, I try even harder. So if I trim a foot and I think that's not perfect, then I try harder. Like, okay, up it, let's fit this. And that's a different mentality to some. When it starts going wrong, the wheels start coming off the wagon and it's all doom and gloom. Whereas I'm like, someone's having a worse day. Come on, and that's probably a mindset. How do you teach that? How do you train that? I don't know. That's just.
I don't think you do. I think it's just that's some people's mindset, and some people don't have that mindset.
Yeah, and I
think, not everybody gets to be a Navy SEAL, and that, you know what I mean. Like, not everybody gets to have the mind that can handle intense situations. So I don't think that's something you can teach. I think that's something that's like your mind craves that. I think a little bit of being a little bit of the underdog. Of like you're gonna push through it.
Sometimes, like, I'll be honest with you, sometimes in the past I've went to a contest and not practiced and like come away like as if and then I'm like, what are you doing? Like, why are you going to contest stop practicing just to come away and say, oh yeah, I haven't practiced? Like, no.
Yep.
Now I've learned. Now it's all about preparation, and this year I realized that how much you have to put into it. And that's the thing. If I feel like I can sacrifice that part of your life, because it is a big sacrifice.
Since day one of Forge and Brains podcast, Farrier Box has wanted to work with us. And we love the fact that Farrier Box works with Forge and Brains podcast. Every other month, they're sending you a box of tools that you can put straight to work in your everyday practice. They're not tools that have just sprung on the market. They're actually tools that have been tested and used to figure out if these are actually worthy products that you can actually put to work. I personally know that Bodie Turnka, he's the one that tests these products and makes sure that they are worthy enough to be sent out in the Farrier Box. So go to their website, farrierbox.com. You can use the code BRAINS, and that'll get you 25% off your first month's box. That's a pretty damn good deal. Pretty much in every box that has come, I have implemented them in my day-to-day practice. So this last month, with the Virginia WCB on the next list for an individual contest, it came with a set of tongs and 2 pieces of steel just to get you started on your practice, so you can have a jump start on figuring out how to make them shoes. There's also another product in there that was recommended by a previous guest on Forge and Brains, Tyson Clark, because he is actually the judge for the upcoming Virginia contest. So if you're looking for something to spicing up your everyday shoeing practice, look at Farrier Box as a way to innovate your shoeing practice and just kind of introduce you to different tools that you may not necessarily try and get by just searching online and get them. They're going to send them to you without the hesitation that you may or may not want it. And then you get to try them and test them out whether you like them or not. 9 times out of 10, I'm using every product that gets sent to me in the Farrier Box, so you won't be disappointed with anything that gets sent to you. So check it out, farrierbox.com. Use code BRAINS. Save yourself 25% off your first month's box. And then every other month after that, you'll be receiving the great old Farrier Box in the mail.
No matter what you do in life, if you want to compete, if you want to do anything competitive, it's a sacrifice. And sadly, the thing that gets sacrificed is family time. Every time. Yeah. We don't seem to sacrifice work time. We just keep doing that. But yeah,
it's a hard one, man. It's a hard one too, because like at the end of your life, you know what I mean. You got to answer that question of like, are you happy where you spent the time? You're not ever going to ask yourself, are you happy where you spent the money or anything like that? But you're going to ask yourself, are you happy where you spent the time? And it's like, so it's a hard thing to decide for the future.
Yeah, without a doubt. Yeah, very hard.
So for my own curiosity, to kind of go back to like, it's important to have a world championship for the industry, and just being able to like watch the top guys, so like everybody can see what everybody else is doing, like the top guys winning.
Yep.
for my own curiosity, like watching you through a go, like a shoe and go, I notice when you are about to go to a horse, you're very quick on your feet, but you take your apron off mid shoe and go. So I've always kind of wondered, is it just because like it's hot and you're just trying to cool yourself down a little bit, or because like I remember
Yeah.
last year you had that on the hind foot on the French hind, there was cracks everywhere and like quarter cracks at the foot, and you were nailing it up without any apron on. I was like, man, that's not something I'd want to do,
Yeah.
is nail up without an apron on.
Cat's laughing.
Like to me, I was just
Cat
blown
tells
away.
me off for this.
See
Yeah.
what?
Cat tells me off for that. It's weird. When I'm shoeing every day, I have my apron on and I take it off between yards. And when I'm competing, I don't know. I get a bit hot, and so I like to take it off. And then sometimes I shoe without it. But should I shoe without an apron? No, not really. Sometimes when I make shoes, I find that it kind of like, I like shoeing in it. I wear silverback. I like shoeing in it. When I'm forging in it, I just feel it kind of gets you on the hips of it. So I end up taking it off. And then once you take it off, then you've got to put it back on. So then sometimes you kind of just rolling through it. But this year, I think I was in better position, better shape, and I didn't really take it off this year as much.
Yeah, I don't think I saw you take it off this year.
Yeah, but I think that's generally what it is kind of like gets a bit heavy, a bit hot, and you kind of knock it off. But you got to be careful.
Yeah, it's just my personal. I was like, man, that's a risky business.
Kat always tells me off for it. Yeah, she tells me off for it. But I remember that horse. In fairness, I remember it, and I was like, it was jerky.
Yeah.
And I was like, but that's part of the. I think that's part of the game, is that now you get experience, so you know that this horse is going to be harder to nail. This is this, so you think, right, I need longer for that.
Yeah.
Because each element's worth 10, so you've got to plan your time, and I think that's a big part of it, without a doubt.
Like to compare, say, this shoe list that we had this year versus the shoe list we had last year, where we're putting on French hinds and omnidirectionals, do you think the Tuam Fullard on the foot and then like a plain stamp with a masslet, you think this year's list was a little bit easier than last year's list as far as like what we had to do on the foot and just overall?
Yeah, I think probably possibly it was easier this year, but then a hunter fit, and what I like about what Craig does is he makes it fair, so everyone's shoeing fronts. Whereas in England, you'll go to a contest and you might have a front, you might have a hind, and it's two different variables. So Craig's got everyone on fronts, but I think a hunter front, to do it right and to be able to do any size, I think was a hell of a task. And that's what when I first set about it, I soon realised that, okay, it's all going to come down to fit, finish, shoe quality. You've got to stand out, and that's what you have to do, is you have to stand out. So definitely last year took a lot more prep, because you had to make all the French hinds, and you're thinking I could get Tony the Pony that you got, or you could get a Gypsy Vanna. So without a doubt, before you realise it, you're drawn into making loads of sizes. And then I'd never put a French hind on. So then I'm figuring out toe widths and all that, and it kind of took it. Whereas this year was like a Masselet. I won the Masselet the first year when Austin judged it, so I was like, okay, hind Masselet, that I've done all right with that before, so okay, I know where I'm going. But then it's weird, because when I first started doing it, I was clipping it on the straight and doing all sorts, and Matt Agger would turn up, and I'd be like, one week I'd be clipping it on the straight and making the shoe. The next week I'd be clipping it on the bend, and it was I kept changing my system. And then I kind of told myself, no, stick to the clipping it on the straight's great, but making a shoe for the foot I think it's better to clip it at the end. So I went back to my system, and I think you've got to be brave enough to alter your system and tell yourself when it's not working, instead of just going, oh no, I'm going with the old faithful. I tried to alter stuff, but I think this year, I like the classes this year. I think English Hunter is kind of brought up on that. Deep-seated bar shoe, that's what we have at the Nationals. Hammer finish I like hammer finish. So I thought that was a good class. So I think this year kind of suited me a bit better. If you could get, when the Roadster come out, I was like, oh, it's a Roadster. But Matt Ag was like, yeah, but you can make a Roadster. I was like, yeah, that's true. Yeah. But then the Saddlebred, I just kind of, I just didn't get it as good as what I got at home. And I didn't get that scoopy check. And when you didn't have the scoopy check, you're in the mix and that's it. And I put myself in there. So, but yeah, I think I like the shoe list this year because for me, I like fast classes. And Craig Trinker said to me, he's like, you're going to love this class, the first class, because it's fast. He's like, you like it. He goes, you like it, Beanie, when no one gets finished.
Suiting.
And I was like, yeah, he's kind of right. Yeah, I like it when it's fast. Yeah, I like them classes. Yeah.
So years ago, I never got to go there, but Riley, you were there when they did the Horseshoeing Classic in Kentucky, right?
Yep.
And were you there? Well, like you had the team. You were with Nigel, and I can't remember who else. Like, how was that experience?
Yeah.
And
there's Nigel, Bazin, and Gardner.
Yep.
How was that experience? Yeah. Like, do you kind of wish that you guys were still coming to the Classic, or?
Yeah, that was unbelievable. We were all obviously I'd competed with Darren Bazin since I was an apprentice on the England apprentice team, and then I was his partner on the seniors. And the deal always was that it would be me, Derek, and Baz, and then probably Gary Darlow. But we kind of left it too late, and it wasn't going to happen. So we were like, okay, right. So we've got the three of us, and we were good friends, and Darren and Derek and was one of my best friends, and Baz, and so we're like, who are we going to get? And I was like, Nigel. Like, Nigel's like this guy, and they're like, yeah, you know. I'm honestly like, I'm on the English team with this guy. He can hold his corner. So then we would get together, and that was great because we were just four buddies. We put the dates in the diary. We practiced. We chased after Cat 6, like the Milster, the Austin, the Jake, the Gino. They were they'd won it a few years, maybe 3, and we wanted to go and beat them. Yeah. So we went, and I think they won the draft day, and we knew that was our weakest class. We were second, and we won the next 2, and then we went back the following year, same team. And then Baz is like, the following year, Baz is like, look, my family's getting older and I need to be at home. And so Baz pulled out, and me and Derek were like, and Nigel were like, yeah, okay, who we're going to get? And we talked Ricky into it. And I think it was a big jump for Ricky to jump into a team that had won twice. And simple as that. And
big shoes.
And the dynamics changed a bit. Like, we'd be out of practice, and Derek always went first because Derek was good at getting it done, and I always went last and that's the same now. If I'm on a team, I always go last and Derek said it, and he said, Beanie, if you go first, you're going to do the same job whether you have 2 hours or 40 minutes. And he's so right. So I go last, and that's the best place for me. Whereas if I go first, I just mess about. But Derek was good at getting it done and getting off. He was good at laying down 9s, and he would get off. But then when we started, when Baz wasn't on the team, me and Baz were quite good. Like, 'cause Derek takes a bit of managing. Like, you got to manage Derek. Like, if you're going to have a practice with Derek, you got to go to Derek's house. You got to get there. You got to light the fire. You got to take coke, and you got to take steel. And sometimes I'd have to go and help him shoe his horses so he could have a practice. He said I'm too busy. So, wow. And I used to have to drive across there the weekend before because Baz is like, if you don't go to Derek's house, he ain't going to make any shoes. I was like, I know. So Derek is like the ultimate lazy practicer. And when he practices, you kind of think, he's going to have to but when he gets there, man, he always delivers. But when we were practicing without Baz, Derek was like, he'd go off on his phone outside, and I'm like, oh my God, this is just not. And it was hard. And then Derek and Nigel said, like, they were done. Baz was done. So then it was just me, and I teamed up with the Castleys and Jack Castley and Grant Watt, and we come, and we had a good go at it. It was just it's very hard dynamics to change team. Did I enjoy the Classic? Of course I did. I loved it. But sadly, my team left me. So would I come again? I would love to come again. Yeah, I would love to come again. Yeah, without a doubt. I kind of love that sort of competition because it's all horseshoeing, and it's a team, and you're only as strong as you're only as good as your weakest member. So you've got to make your weakest member better, and that's what it's all about. Like, and
build them up.
That's what I try to do with the English team. I've been lucky with the English team because when I got on it, we went to Stoneleigh, and I went with Spud, Joe Bryan, and Darren Bazin, and England hadn't won for 9 years. And when I kind of got on there, I was like the new kid, and I knocked Dave Smith off. And I remember saying to Spud, like, I'm happy for Smithy to be in the team, Spud, and I'll be reserved because Smithy's more experienced. And Spud's like, no, you got on the team. You're on the team. And I think it was good because I was 23, and it was like I was 9 years youngest, and I think it gave a bit of energy back. And then we went on and we won it, and Spud was great. Like, Spud's a good horseshoer, and I remember my trimming back in them days wasn't very good. Like, if it stuck up, I rasped it off. That is basically how I trimmed. So I used to trim my foot, and I used to get back to Darren Bazin, and we still do the same with the English team now. Is that 2 go on, and the other 2 will judge or critique. We always get someone in to score. I think if you get someone in to score and the other members, it's good. If you try to knock each other, I think it's hard because it gets tension. But if someone else comes in and they're the bad guy, it's great. So Spud would, I'd trim my foot and I'd get back to the anvil. I'd say to Baz, I think he's going to stop the clock. And Baz is like, no, I think you'll be all right this week. And I was like, no, I think he's going to stop the clock. And then Spud would shout, Beanie, stop the clock. Come and have a look at your trim. And then he'd tell me, do this, do that. And actually, I remember in 2007, when I'd been to the Worlds and I'd been second twice, I remember going to Bath and West, and Joe Bryan was the judge, and Joe said to me, Beanie, he said, your trimming's like, you start off way behind. He said, then you're making a nice shoe and it fits, and he said, then you catch up. He said, you need to sort your trimming. And so then I kind of figured out, oh yeah, I need to sort my trimming. I do. And I used to dread trimming, but then I kind of learned. Derek taught me how to trim. He's a great foot dresser, and he suited my style because he leaves a little bit of foot to burn. And so then I kind of figured out that I made trimming one of my stronger points. I think it's easy points, trimming a foot. It's
what we do every day.
It's the foundation of it. If you don't get that shape in it where you want it, how can you shoe it? But back then, I didn't really understand that. Like, but it's team's good. You know, and well done for getting on the WCB, and that's going to be unbelievable. Like, because you've got two of the go-getters there. Like, and when you surround yourself by people like that, you got to get better.
That's kind of what I'm realizing right now. What you just said about figuring out the trimming, like I'm feeling like I'm having to figure all that out and try to raise myself up to get to, try to hang with those guys. Like, I don't want to be the weakest link on the team,
Of course you don't. And I remember going to Stoneleigh and we've Spud, and we won it 3 years in a row. And the last year we won it, Spud said, like, I'm the lowest scorer. And I was like, yeah, but Spud, like, you give more time to Joe. When you were practicing, you didn't practice your shoes as much. You kind of had the bad drawer shoes, the ones that didn't get scored that well. And like, sadly, someone has to be the weakest, but no one wants to be, because we all want to hold our corner. And I've been the lowest on the English team before at Stoneleigh, and it does. I think if you're ready and you go ready, I think that's the key. Like, and I think for me at a team competition, like, there's no excuse for a sprung heel or a poor nail line, because there's another 6 pairs of eyes there. Like,
yeah, that should be
So
able to help you.
Everyone's going to help each other and push each other. And that's, I think with the English team, I've been lucky because it's a competitive team, and I think, I know they don't think that one day I'll walk away, but like, yeah, I will. That's just as it is. But I hope when I do, there's the next generation. There's, like George Rogerson, Alex Collier. It sounds crazy because in England we have a master and apprentice for the international. So you have an England senior team, England apprentice team, and Matt Randalls was my apprentice on the England team.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Wow.
George has been there, and because I've been on it for 24 years, haven't I?
That's incredible.
It's kind of weird, yeah. But it's good. That's really good because the next generation, George, Alex, and they're mad keen.
Yeah, I was thinking about it the other day. Like with your guys, the English team, there's 9 world titles just on that team right there. Like that's big.
Yeah.
That's big.
Crazy number. Crazy number.
Yeah, it's I think it's just, when I was younger, I looked at Darren Bazin, and I remember Joe Bryan saying at the first practice I went to, Joe Bryan stood up and he said, "Baz, you're a world champion. Like, you need to show us what made you a world champion. And if we do that, then we'll win Stoneleigh." And it was kind of, and I was, when I was younger, I was pretty, I think it was weird because a funny story is before I went to Stoneleigh, like Darren Bazin gave me the pep talk, and Darren's like, "Okay, you've got the Welsh team, you've got Billy Crovers, Jim Blurton, Andy Martin, Richard Ellis." He said, "Them 4, he said, they're really good at mind games. They're going to try and get in your head. So don't let them get in your head. You know what you're doing. You're confident." So I was like, okay. So they said it was going to be Billy and Blurton were going to be the ones that tried to put me off. So every time I saw Billy and Blurton, I was like looking at them, like looking as if to say, "Are you coming over? Are you coming over? I'm ready. I'm ready." And then in the end, Billy went to Baz and he's like, "Hey, who is this guy? He keeps staring at us."
Intimidator.
He kind of went the opposite way. But yeah, I've kind of tried to, I think Marshall Howell said to me years ago, just keep your stick on the ice. And I try to stay out of politics. When I hear about this or that, I just try to stay out of it.
Yep.
Yeah, keep your stick on the ice. Just keep going forward. Whatever's going on's going on. And try to keep your mind in the game.
Yeah, exactly.
It's really good advice. Yeah. Jinx, you owe me a Coke. Steven, so a question that we like to ask our guests on here, we call it the Mount Rushmore. And so it's basically 4 people that you hold in a high regard that have gotten you to where you're at. And so my question to you is, who would you put on your Mount Rushmore? I guess you guys don't have Mount Rushmore, so it's thing here in the United States where we got the 4 presidents.
Near us, we have a thing called Roseby Topping, which takes me about half an hour to get up the top. But yeah,
okay.
who would I put on that? Without a doubt, you got to say Hugh Dyer, because Hugh Dyer took me as this 16-year-old, sent me to college, took me on, and he gave me the opportunity, and he kind of saw something in me and pushed me down that route. If I hadn't have been with Hugh, would I have been a world champion? I don't know, because everything I've said to you today about Hugh with time management and it was like the foundation of it, without a doubt. And then Glenn Brook, because Glenn Hugh was the nuts and bolts, sure, safe and sound. Glenn was the finer details. And then without a doubt, it's really hard with the others because there's so many people, but definitely Nigel Fennell.
Yeah.
Nigel's been a good friend. He's been there for the good times, the bad times, the highs, the lows. He gives sound advice, and he knows where I've been, where I've come back from. And then, without a doubt, this year, Lewis. If Lewis hadn't have been there in my corner this year, given me the tips, would I have been world champion? I don't think so, because the first go I had on a horse, I thought it was good enough. And then when you have to send a video to someone and they look at it, and the picture picks up a lot more than what we see with the naked eye.
I was going to ask it, yeah.
Yeah, and then they look at stuff and yeah, definitely, Lewis, and yeah, but there's so many, like, it's
always hard to put
so
a four down. You don't want to leave somebody out.
And then a guy called Kiwi, Andrew Nichols, he was my old partner back at Spruce, and he's always been there. Like, if I could ring him up tomorrow and say, do you want to come to a contest next week? I haven't got a partner, and he'll drop everything and be there.
That's cool.
He's that guy. Like, yeah, so definitely, yeah, and then there's other people, like, yeah, without a doubt. And I remember one year at Spruce, I was kind of did the front, and I was a bit down in the dumps, and Craig Trinker pulled me aside, and he's like, what is wrong with you? Like, you're still in it, and stuff like that. You kind of remember that. Oh,
huge, man. And you've been that person for a bunch of other people in the trade too, so it's been awesome, man. I appreciate you taking the time to, like, sit down and, like, have this talk with us. I know you're a super competitive person, so it's like, I know you've been wanting to keep everything real tight, and so it's like, it means a lot, man, to open up and let everybody in,
No, I think I really, really appreciate the opportunity, and if I can influence anyone on the journey, that's what it's all about. Like,
this has been great.
Yeah, hopefully it'll some people will be inspired, but definitely, if you want it, you got to go and get it, and never let anyone take away your dream. If you've got a dream, you got to see it through, without a doubt.
Man, no, I think there's some great advice in here for people when any journey they're in life, man. I appreciate it a whole bunch. Thanks everybody for. Yeah, exactly.
I'm ready to go make shoes now.
Feel lazy. Like, that's what it's all about.
I'm ready to go make tools now.
Yeah, exactly. Man, yeah, you're on the opposite side of the earth from us. You're a different time.
It's dark out there.
Right now.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks a whole bunch, man. Thanks everybody for tuning in and listening. We'll see you on the next one.
Thank you.